Apple to do something now that Intel has done something about PCs? What does it mean for Apple? Because Apple is the only one that hasn't partnered with NVIDIA in any way so far. So maybe, we should watch out for that.
This. The winners are those that partner with NVIDIA.
In this cycle.
Mandeep, thank you so much for joining. This has been great. That's Bloomberg Intelligence's Mandeep Singh. Coming up, we are awaiting President Trump's press conference with Prime Minister Kirk. You're looking at live images of Buckinghamshire, where Checkers is, but we're awaiting that press conference. We will bring it to you when it begins. You're watching Bloomberg TV.
Hello, this is DrPaulCottrell, and I am doing a live stream on YouTube today. It is September 18th. The big news, NVIDIA is investing in Intel to do a joint venture to develop AI for PC market. That's going to be pretty big, and that will really expand the usage of AI in corporations. So stay tuned with that. Also, the Fed lowered rates 25 basis points yesterday. So we're going to take a look at the aftershock of that throughout this broadcast. And we're going to go over some of the other news, especially about Charlie Kirk and the UK visit by President Trump. Lots to cover. Please help support the work that I do, because all these videos are for free. Please help by sharing the links, asking your social media to follow me. Follow me on X and on GETTR. All the links are in the description of this video. But also, make sure you subscribe to the different channels I have. I have 4 channels on YouTube. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. You can also follow me on Patreon, on Substack. I have a new Substack that's out there. So there's lots of ways to follow my work. You can also listen to my podcasts on Podomatic and Apple Podcast. You can follow my work also live streaming under broadcast on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Under broadcast, you can listen to either radio or live broadcasts and listen to the archived material that I have up there in audio format. So there's lots of ways to listen to my work. All this work is for free. Please help support. You can support many different ways. You can purchase the products I have on my store, or you can donate. You can donate on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. You can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or buy me a coffee. You can be a member to my Substack channel or my Patreon, or even be a member to buy me a coffee. But the point here is that I provide the material for free, and it's the ones that help through donations and purchasing the products that allows me to do this. So thank you for helping. I greatly appreciate it. With that, let's go to Bloomberg.
And on the next trading session is when we got the rally. That's happening again now. S&P 500 up 0.5%. NASDAQ up 0.9%. Now, is it really driven by the Fed, or could it be the NVIDIA Intel investment? I guess you can decide. NVIDIA is up more than 2% right now. Obviously, that huge weight driving up every index on which it's listed. Intel gaining by 25%. It's not such a huge weight, but it still makes a little bit of a difference, gaining, what, $40 billion in market cap. Novo Nordisk is up after saying that their shot is better at reducing the risk of heart attack than Eli Lilly's. Eli Lilly is up because yesterday they said their pill is better at reducing your blood sugar levels. And of course, they each go back and forth at who can make you lose more weight. Meta Platforms releasing a new kind of glasses. They're saying they're AI glasses because they have a screen on the inside. So this is, I think, 3.0 for those glasses. Mandeep Singh has a pair of the old ones. I should ask him if he's going to buy the new ones. They're like $800. And Tesla is rising about 0.4 or 0.5% really, after I talked to the chief designer yesterday, Franz von Holzhausen. He says that they're going to make a new interior door mechanism that's easier to open, even if the battery's dead, Danny.
Such a great interview, and we're going to have more of that for you later.
And it's on my podcast.
And it's on the podcast.
Check out my podcast, Full Pursuit.
Do it all. Keep watching the show and listening to Matt's podcasts, hopefully not at the same time. Anyway, President Trump and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer are set to hold a joint press conference at which some tech investments may be announced. Let's get the latest from Anne-Marie Horger, Bloomberg's chief political correspondent and co-host of Bloomberg Surveillance. And Anne-Marie, we already had a big tech announcement just this morning.
Yeah, we had a massive tech announcement in terms of the culmination of all the deals that have been announced on the sidelines of this state visit, whether it's Microsoft, Google, NVIDIA, Palantir. So you had the Prime Minister Keir Starmer and President Donald Trump sitting side by side, signing this tech partnership. Jensen Huang was an individual the president called out during this business reception. He was sitting in the front row, and the president said, "Oh, Jensen, you're here. We all hope you're right. What are you doing?" And this comes on the heels of what we learned this morning of NVIDIA taking a stake in Intel. Just a month ago, almost to the day, you'll remember the U.S. government took a stake in Intel. And when you were watching the feed, I caught a glimpse of Jensen Huang having a bit of a huddle with the press secretary, Caroline Levitt, in the White House, Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller. So if we can connect the dots here, it does look like this administration with a heavy hand is potentially putting pressure on some companies to help build up national champions. I think some might call what the U.S. administration did state capitalism. Others might look at it, given national security concerns, calling it state warcraft. Today's announcement also comes on the day when you want to think of national security. News out of Beijing with Huawei basically mapping out a plan to compete with NVIDIA and make sure they are not the dominant player in this market. So really some interesting news, and we're still waiting. We should know from the White House reaction to what NVIDIA announced today, and maybe we're going to get that reaction when President Donald Trump holds this dual press conference with Keir Starmer.
Anne-Marie, I saw you also posted a photo of Larry Fink there. So it really is the good and great meeting at this event.
Yeah, absolutely. You have also financial chiefs that were at this business roundtable. Many of them were also at the banquet state dinner last night. Larry Fink, Steve Schwarzman, who also announced billions of dollars when it comes to investment in the United Kingdom. Citi's Jane Fraser and Bank of America's Brian Moynihan. All of these individuals were at this event. It really goes to show that there are deep economic and business ties between these two countries, but that special relationship may get tense with some questions at this press conference.
Anne-Marie Horder covering all the president does for us. Thanks very much, our chief political correspondent and co-anchor of Bloomberg Surveillance. Coming up, we're going to show you President Trump's press conference with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer when it happens. And remember, we expect some deals. So this isn't just pomp and circumstance. This is open interest.
Okay, we're gonna go to MSNBC talking about the rising unemployment signals by Steve Ratner. But before we do that, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and follow the protocol, the health protocol that I have. This is what I do every day to slow down the aging process and then boost up the immune system. So a great way to start is take the magnesium and zinc. Magnesium and zinc will boost up that immune system and also help with brain function. Super important. Magnesium also increases the efficacy of vitamin D3. You're going to need that, especially in the fall and the winter. So be prepared for the fall and the winter. Something's coming. Be prepared. Trust me on this. And take the magnesium and zinc to boost up that immune system and help with the brain function. Very important. A lot of people are going to start to notice individuals having problems with their brain function within the next 5 years. The reason why is partially due to what happened in the crisis of 2020. This is the aftershock of it. So you want to protect the neurons. Need to take the stacks that protect the neurons, and I will talk about that throughout this broadcast. Vitamin C and magnesium is dual purpose. It'll help with your skin. It will also help with your immune system. Increase the efficacy of vitamin D3, super important, and improve your brain function. So stack the vitamin C and magnesium with the magnesium and zinc together. Take them together, drink filtered water, use discount 5, you get $5 off any order. If you spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last.
We're implementing AI, right? Another AI tool. Well,
The Federal Reserve announced its first interest rate cut of the year yesterday after the central bank's highly anticipated two-day September policy meeting. The Fed lowered its benchmark rate by 0.25 percentage point to a range of 4 to 4.25%. The 12-member board voted 11-1 to cut rates and signaled 2 more cuts are expected before the end of the year. Trump's newly appointed Fed governor, Stephen Miron, was the only dissenting vote. He was in favor of a larger half-point cut instead. Steve Ratner, you have charts on all of this. I guess let's start by explaining the cut that we got yesterday.
Yeah, Mika, it was actually a surprisingly uneventful meeting after all the buildup. We thought there might be more dissension, more controversy. As you know, Trump has been kind of trying to pack the Fed, so to speak, and try to get faster cuts, more cuts, and so forth. But he didn't really get it yesterday. And as you said, only one governor actually sided on this, in favor of more cuts. So here's the cut he did yesterday. And as part of it, every quarter, the Fed issues new projections for where it thinks interest rates are going. And you can see the glide path has been pretty similar. It bounces around a bit from the March to the June to the September estimates, really based as much on Trump and the tariff wars as anything else. When the tariff wars seemed greater, we thought interest rates would stay higher. Now they seem to be a bit less, interest rates coming down, and then they stabilize over here. But as you also said, what's happening now is the Fed is pivoting from worrying about inflation, rightly or wrongly, to worrying about the jobs market. And so you can see over here what's been happening to the jobs market. Now, obviously, when you go back to 2021, we had a lot of COVID effects, reopening of the country. But these are annual rates of job creation over that period of time. And you can see that back here, we created about 216,000 jobs in the course of 2023 per month, dropped to 168,000 here, drops to 75,000 here. And in the last 4 months, when of course we all remember Trump fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we created only 27,000 jobs a month on average. Why is that happening? You hear different reasons. It's very anecdotal at this point. Certainly businesses holding back on hiring because they really don't know where the economy is going. They don't know where tariffs are going. They don't know where Trump is going. But you also may be starting to see some effects of AI in terms of companies feeling they can get by with fewer people to do the same or even perhaps more work.
So Steve, let's look more at the softening labor market. In your second chart, Chairman Powell explicitly said yesterday that was the big concern, was the softening labor market. And as you point out, for the first time since the pandemic.
Before we go to the next chart, summary. Job creation going down, and the Federal Reserve target is probably gonna continue to cut all the way down to about 3.25% for the federal funds rate over time cutting throughout this year and next year. That's the projection.
Jobs, then there are jobs available.
Yeah, exactly, Willie. So before the pandemic, of course, typically we have more people looking for jobs than there are jobs. Then you had the pandemic, huge number of jobs. People could kind of get jobs very easily, and the lines have been converging. And then just last month or so, they actually crossed. So you do have more people looking for jobs than there are jobs. And so that's another sign of a weakening labor market. And then another thing that's worth pointing out is the long-term unemployed and the number of people who've been unemployed for 6 months or more. And you can see right now we hit, and it's been jumping up, we hit about 26% of the people who are unemployed 6 months or more. Again, ignore COVID, very aberrational, but the last time we were at that level was 2016. So we're starting to have a problem, not just with the unemployment rate, but with also people staying unemployed for a long time. And one of the things you also hear anecdotally is that this is a really tough hiring season for young college graduates. Again, for the reasons I said, companies are just holding back, or they think at these entry-level positions, they might be able to do more with AI. So it's going to especially affect young people.
It's really hard. And let's talk about inflation. While it may not have been as much a consideration here, it feels like it's getting worse, or at least not getting better.
Yeah, Mika, you're absolutely right. And what's interesting is that Powell pivoted sooner than he said he was going to pivot. He always said 2% inflation is our goal. We have to be at 2% inflation. That's what we're going to get to. And then as the jobs market is weakened, and the Fed does have this dual mandate of worrying about both, he pivoted. And so if you look at his inflation projections, you can see, as you said, inflation has been nudging upward. And the Fed actually thinks it could continue to nudge upward as we've not felt the full effects of the tariffs. And then it gradually declines, but it does not get to its 2% target until out in 2028 now. And so the Fed has decided whether pressure from Trump had any effect or not, we don't know. Powell is a pretty resolute guy and has been very firm in saying it didn't. But nonetheless, they've decided to prioritize jobs and accept a bit more inflation than they expected. Now, the other thing that the Fed projects every 3 months is growth. And here again, the growth projections when you go March, June, September have been jumping around, in part because of what I was talking about before, Liberation Day, tariffs on, tariffs off, and so forth. But the big takeaway from this is that even whichever set of bars you like, whichever of their forecasts you like, growth is expected to remain way below where it was in 23 and 24. We had it, if we go back further, put aside COVID.
What's important to realize is this data that he's presenting is starting to show that the economy in the United States is moving towards stagflation, where you have inflation and you have unemployment or job creation is really reduced. All right. I'm concerned about this above the 2% target with inflation. This is something pernicious is starting to develop.
You'd find an economy growing about 2.5% a year. That's a fairly normal rate for an economy like this. Now the Fed is projecting more like 1.5% going forward all the way to 2028. And Trump has said that slow growth now is simply setting the stage for faster growth later as his policies take effect, a period of disruption, whatever. The Fed is saying not so fast. We think there could be a little bit more growth, but the Fed does not see for almost the entirety of Trump's term growth getting back to where it was during the last years of Biden and before that.
All right, Morning Joe economic analyst Steve Ratner, thank you very much. We look forward to more on this. I'm curious, Caddy K, looking at the labor market and Steve's comments on inflation, it seems like a dismal time, especially for younger Americans or Americans in their 30s and 40s, trying even to buy their first house, looking for opportunity, overall affordability, which politically, I'm thinking affordability is where Democrats need to live in developing a message and looking for solutions in the weeks and months heading up to the next election.
Yeah, and it's not even just buying their own house. Mika is always often renting their own house. You look at some of the inflation data, and actually some things have come down, but one thing that hasn't come down is housing, and that includes renting. You and I both have teenagers, and we have kids in our early 20s who have just come out of college. We know how hard it is for kids at the moment to find jobs. And what Steve was saying about entry-level jobs is particularly true. So you combine that with a whole generation of people who are coming out of college who have college debt, who then can't afford housing, prices are too high for them, and they can't get jobs. I think this is an area that Democrats are going to have to focus on. And you could see it in New York in the race with Mamdani, all those young people voting for him on the basis of affordability. The question for Democrats is, can they get those people excited about Democratic proposals to fix this in the run-up to the next election?
This is a very important issue here. As the unemployment rate is starting to increase, or at least at the very minimum, job creation is slow. inflation stays above the 2% target, closer to 3%. And we move towards the midterm election, this is going to be a very pivotal set of data to determine if the House is going to be held by the Republicans or even the Senate, or will it switch to the Democrats? Because most people vote based on their pocketbook. So Trump needs to have the economy really roaring in 2026, or the Republicans have a big problem on their hands in the midterm election. All right. Let's listen into Barack Obama warns country is in political crisis, all right, after the Kirk shooting. But before we pivot over to the Hill, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get olive leaf extract. Olive leaf extract is a dual purpose supplement that you should be taking every day. It helps to boost up your immune system and helps with your cardiovascular system. It helps to control your lipid profile, helps to bring down the LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. When you do that, you have less plaque formation. Olive leaf extract also brings down inflammation. When you bring down inflammation at the vascular level, you have less plaque buildup. If you bring down inflammation systemically, you're helping with your endocrine system and your immune system. When you bring down inflammation at the cerebral level, you're helping the health of your neurons. This is a very important supplement to take every day. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5. You get $5 off any order and get the olive leaf extract. And another really important supplement to take that helps with your vascular system is nattokinase. Nattokinase is fibrinolytic. It's going to break up clots, but it also helps with your lipid profile. It's synergistic with olive leaf extract. It helps to bring down LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. Also, as we go into the fall and the winter season, you need nattokinase. Trust me on this. All right. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the nattokinase, break up those clots, and stack it with the olive leaf extract. And then you're supercharging the cardiovascular part of the stack here. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. If you spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. So let's go to the Hill.
Build a website you love with Wix. For your words, create your brand, your opportunity, your breakthrough.
All right, I want to pivot right now. Live is the Trump Starmer press conference, so we're gonna listen in on that.
Free record that we have. £250 billion flowing both ways across the Atlantic. That is a record. Expected to create 15,000 jobs here in the United Kingdom. High skilled jobs in cutting edge sectors where people can build careers for the long term, changing lives in communities up and down our country. And look, while we shape this on for a new era, the fundamentals have not changed. Security remains the cornerstone of this special relationship. We have the deepest, most advanced defense relationship in the world. Our warriors train together and they fight together. Our industries build together. Everything from fast jets to the new AUKUS-class submarines. So now, as we drive up defense spending, we're going to sweep away the barriers to working together on new defense technologies so we can stay ahead of our adversaries. We're united in defense and security. Yes, absolutely. But we're also united in the pursuit of peace. We are working together to end the humanitarian catastrophe in the Middle East, get the aid in free the hostages, and ultimately bring Israel and the region back towards a comprehensive plan which can deliver peace and security for Israelis and Palestinians alike. We're also working together to end the killing in Ukraine. In recent days, Putin has shown his true face, mounting the biggest attack since the invasion began, with yet more bloodshed, yet more innocents killed, and unprecedented violations of NATO airspace. These are not the actions of someone who wants peace. So we've discussed today how we can build our defences further, support Ukraine, and decisively increase the pressure on Putin to get him to agree a peace deal that will last. And President Trump, you have led the way here, and we will continue to stand and work together for security and for peace. Mr. President, next year we'll celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States. We've come on a long journey together since 1776. But it's no exaggeration to say that the partnership that our two nations have built has shaped the world from the beaches of Normandy to the founding of NATO, to the creation of technologies that have revolutionized our lives. Time and time again, it is British and American men and women side by side, changing the path of history and turning it towards our values, towards freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. In Britain, we take huge pride in them. And let's be clear, this relationship is not just about history, it's about the future. It's about the benefits it delivers now and for decades to come, to make our people safer and better off. We've shown today that we're delivering those benefits, improving people's lives. So we will go into that anniversary year more optimistic than ever and more confident than ever about our two great nations and what they can achieve side by side. Thank you. And it is now my pleasure to give the floor to Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, very much. Prime Minister Starmer, Melania and I are tremendously thankful for the wonderful hospitality that you and Lady Starmer have extended today at Checkers. Quite the place, I must say, quite the place. And we're grateful beyond words for the spectacular honor of the state visit yesterday at Windsor Castle, hosted by His Majesty King Charles III and Her Majesty Queen Camilla. These are two fantastic people. We will never forget it. As I said last night, the bond between our countries is like no other anywhere in the world. The United States and the United Kingdom have done more good on this planet than any two nations in human history. That is thanks in large part to the traditions of British liberty, which grew up on these isles, these beautiful, magnificent isles, and were carried by our ancestors to the New World. We're forever joined, and we are forever friends, and we will always be friends. This enduring connection is why I was thrilled that the United Kingdom was the very first country with which we made a historic trade deal, and a very good trade deal. He's a tough negotiator. I think it was a better deal for you than us. It's a very good deal for both. He is a great negotiator who will extend our unparalleled security alliance into the realm of economic security for the first time. And I look forward to finalizing it very soon. We'll have it done very quickly. We have also just signed a historic technology prosperity deal, one of a kind, to ensure our countries lead the next great technological revolution side by side. In fact, we just left the business leaders, the biggest in the world. Some are in this room right now. And that was quite a meeting we had on business and trade and technology. This trip has galvanized $350 billion in deals across many sectors. And we're committed to ensuring that the UK has a secure and reliable supply of the best AI hardware and software on Earth. And we supply that, and we'll make sure we supply it in quantity to the UK. We also are joining forces on quantum computing and nuclear power, a natural partnership for close allies. The United States, as you probably have heard, is doing better than it has ever done in terms of business and investment. The stock market has hit a new high, as you know, and that's for many, many days out of our fairly short 8 months. And we seem to be hitting new highs, and I think we're going to do much better even as time goes by. Jobs are at a record, and most importantly, we have more than $17 trillion, $17 trillion, and this is during an 8-month period being invested in a country which is not only a record, but if you compare $17 trillion to the last year of the Biden administration, they did $250 billion. They didn't do $1 trillion for the 4-year period. We did $17 trillion of investment coming in. A lot of it's because of tariffs, and a lot of it's for a lot of other reasons, but there's never been anything like it. It's an economic superstar. That's what's become. It's mismanaged and badly handled for a long period of time, but it's not badly handled anymore. So that's a record. And remember, that's up until 8 months. We have another few months to go, and that number is going to get significantly higher, especially if we win a certain case that we're waiting to hear. That will be something like the world has never seen. I want to congratulate the United Kingdom on making the final commitment to spend 5% of GDP on defense at the NATO summit this year. We've worked together very closely in so many ways. I'm very honored to tell you that we've solved 7 wars, wars that were unsolvable, wars that couldn't be negotiated or done. The US has done 7 of them. The one that I thought would be easiest would be because of my relationship with President Putin, but he's let me down. He's really let me down. It was going to be Russia and Ukraine, but we'll see how that turns out. But that turned out to be, I thought it might be among the easiest of the group. But we had settled just about every conflict, and as you know, we're working very hard on Israel and Gaza. Oh, that's happening over there. Complex, but it's going to get done. It'll all get done right. And likewise, Russia and Ukraine will get done. But you never know in war. You know, war is a different thing. Things happen that are very opposite of what you thought. You thought you were going to have an easy time or a hard time, and it turns out to be the reverse. As we saw in the unforgettable parade yesterday at Windsor Castle, what a place it is. The British Armed Forces carry on one of the finest military traditions in the world, one of the greatest marching bands, one of the most magnificent sights I've seen. I know that our service members look forward, and we do look so forward to working even more closely with yours as you push toward that 5% goal. And I think, Mr. Prime Minister, you're just about there. You're going to be there very quickly, along with a lot of other great countries. I want to thank NATO and our wonderful head of NATO, who's really worked very hard, Mark, for the job they've done. As you know, NATO is at 2% GDP, and they didn't pay it. Now they're at 5%, then they pay it. And we appreciate that. And we're sending a lot of weapons to NATO. NATO's paying for those weapons in full. But we're sending them, and we're doing a great job at getting them what they need. And we appreciate the fact that they're taking care of it, because the United States is into that war for $350 billion. And just really very sad. Just got out of control. They didn't know what they were doing. But over the generations, British and American warriors have shed their blood side by side in defense of liberty and freedom. And that's why it's so imperative that the United States and the United Kingdom stand together for these fundamental rights and values of the English-speaking world. And we've always stood together, and we will continue to. Just last week, a great American, Charlie Kirk, was heinously assassinated for speaking his mind. He was a great young man, incredible future. Some people said he might be president someday. I told him, I said, Charlie, I think you have a good shot someday at being president. And he just wanted to take care of youth. He loved youth. I've never seen anybody relate to youth like Charlie, and they related to him, and they're devastated. But I appreciate the many British citizens who have offered their condolences. And again, Charlie was a great person. We'll be going out to a service on Sunday. I'll be leaving with some of the people in this room just to celebrate Charlie and all that he's done. It's so incredible. Never seen anything like it. But I hope that together our nations can lead a movement to defend the glorious traditions of freedom on both sides of the Atlantic. There could be no greater tribute to the immortal bonds of affection and loyalty that unite the British and the American people for all of time. We have a relationship like no other. It will always be that way. We will always be united. We'll always be together. And I just want to thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for the great job I think you're doing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We're going to take some questions. I'll call 2 or 3 to start with, and then I'll pass over to the President. I've got Chris Mason from the BBC first. Chris.
Thank you, both. Thanks for the BBC News. Mr. President, the UK is expected to recognise a Palestinian state in the coming days as the killing in Gaza continues. It often seems that you're the only person that Israel will listen to. What more can you say to them to tell them to stop? And why is the UK's position on a Palestinian state, in your view, wrong? And Prime Minister, what will the recognition of the Palestinian state actually achieve? Is it not just gesture politics to appease people in your own party? Think you, Bill.
Well, Chris, let me just start with that, because we discussed this amongst other things. We had best part of an hour, I think, upstairs earlier today, just one-to-one, going through a number of affairs, world affairs, in private. And we absolutely agree on the need for peace and a roadmap, because the situation in Gaza is intolerable. The hostages being held for a very, very long time, and they must be free. And we need aid to get into Gaza at speed. And so it's within that context of a plan for this, which we're working hard on, which not only did we discuss this morning, but our 2 teams have been working together on. The question of recognition needs to be seen. And so it's part of that overall package, which hopefully takes us from the appalling situation we're in now to the outcome of a safe and secure Israel, which we do not have, and a viable Palestinian state. Thank you.
Well, simply, I want the hostages released now, right now, not 1, 2, we'll give you 3 more tomorrow. And, you know, like it's been, but we're the ones that got all the hostages released. We have many came to the Oval Office, and I've heard stories like I've never thought even possible. There was no humanity, no anything. I said to them, was there any warmth shown during this stay? Like they offered you a little extra meal, they gave you a little smile, and they said, don't worry, you'll be okay. And every one of them said, not even a little bit. Amazing to think that during this stay, long stay, in some cases, we had a man the other day, 451 days he was there. I always ask that question. And was there any warmth shown? Just a little word of encouragement. And the answer is every time, absolutely not. I'm shocked to hear, because in the worst cases, there's always somebody that comes through it. We have to remember October 7th, one of the worst, most violent days in the history of the world, not just there, in the history of the world. And I got to see the tapes, and I wish I didn't see them, actually, but I got to see them. And I want an end. I want the hostages released. And I think it's going to be okay, but it has been a brutal period of time. But this has been going on for a long time. This is not something that's over the last year, 2 years, but this has been for decades and decades. But we want it to end. We have to have the hostages back immediately. That's what the people of Israel want. They want them back. And we want the fighting to stop, and it's going to stop. But a lot of bad things. You know, Hamas said that they're going to put the hostages up as bait. They're going to put the hostages in front of any attack. And that's pretty brutal. We haven't heard that one in a long time. So we have to remember that. So I have a disagreement with the Prime Minister on that score. Okay. One of our few disagreements, actually.
Can I take Jack from the Sun? Jack.
Thank you both. Jack Elson from the Sun. Mr. President, in the 9 months you've been in office, you've been incredibly successful in all but eliminating crossings on your southern border.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, illegal migration is at record levels in Britain. The Prime Minister is trying to tackle that. What advice would you give to the man standing next to you on trying to stop illegal migration in Britain? And Prime Minister, if I can just ask, President is all about drill baby drill in terms of trying to secure American energy and cut bills for Americans. Meanwhile, you are turning Britain's back on oil and gas in favour of renewable energies, such as wind turbines. Why do you think that you are right and he is wrong?
So we had millions of people flowing in, totally unchecked, totally unvetted from the Biden administration. 25 million, in my opinion, that would be about 25 million. They came from prisons, they came from mental institutions, they were gang members, they were drug dealers. They came from the Congo, they came from all parts of South America, they came from everywhere. Think of it, prisons from the Congo being released into the United States, prisons opened up in Venezuela and many other countries pouring into the United States. And I couldn't believe it. One of the reasons I decided to run. I decided to run because I don't want to be controversial, but you see what's happened and you see all the information that's come out. We won in 2020 big. And I said, let's run, we got to run, because I saw what was happening. And the worst thing that I saw was all of these people, you know, we've already solved inflation, we've solved prices, oil is way down, energy is way down in the United States. But what I saw happening with millions of people pouring into our country, I couldn't stand to watch it. And we've done a great job. Nobody, if you've seen the list, I appreciate your question, by the way. Nobody, absolutely zero, and I'm not even sure that's possible, but it's a very liberal group that come out with those statistics. The last 3 months, we had zero. From millions of people a year ago, we had zero people enter our country illegally. And we do have people coming in legally through a legal process and testing and lots of other things. I think it's very important, and we speak about it. And I think your situation is very similar. You know, you have people coming in, and I told the Prime Minister I would stop it, and that it doesn't matter if you call out the military, it doesn't matter what means you use, but it's going to destroys countries from within. And we're actually now removing a lot of the people that came into our country. It's a very hard chore. We were given a very, very bad hand. Millions of people came in from prisons and mental institutions. We have to remove them. And we are removing them. We have no choice. And I feel very strongly about it. Thank you very much.
Jack, let me just deal with the question of returns, because this is obviously an issue we're taking incredibly seriously. We've struck a number of deals both on cooperation with other countries, because this is a problem right across Europe, to tackle the problem of actually breaking up the gangs that are running this trade. We have had a record number of returns, over 35,000 now, since we came into office. That's the highest number for the best part of 10 years. We struck the returns arrangement with France, and notwithstanding the challenges to that scheme, which you've seen in the last few days, a flight went off at 6:15 this morning, successfully returning someone under that scheme. So that is an important step forward. Obviously, there's no silver bullet here. There's a range of things that need to be done. But given the challenges of returning people, it is important we're able to prove it can be done. It was done. It was done early this morning. So I can confirm that that flight went. It went successfully. And I'm pleased about that. Now we need to ramp that up at scale, which was always envisaged under the scheme. But it's very important we have been able to prove that a proof of concept, if you like, that this can be done, and will continue in that way. On the question of energy, firstly, let me be really clear that I am absolutely determined to ensure that the price and cost of energy comes down, so that bills come down both for individuals, for families, with their household bills, but also for business, because this is so important. The mix will include oil and gas for many years to come from the North Sea. We've been clear about that for some time, but we also need to mix that with renewables, and it's the mix that's really important. And the approach I've taken on this is the same approach that I say to many other things, a pragmatic approach. Thank you, Jack.
I would like to say that we inherited the worst inflation in the history of our country. We had inflation, the likes of which we've really never seen. They say 48 years, and I'll accept that, but I really don't. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country. And we had a expression that I used a lot, drill, baby, drill. And as you know, we brought fuel way down, the prices way down. And we don't do wind because wind is a disaster. It's a very expensive joke, frankly. And we got our energy prices way down. That brought the inflation way down. And now we have very little inflation. And we have a very, very strong economy. So that was very important. Drill, baby, drill. And you have a great asset here. We spoke about it. It's called the North Sea. The North Sea oil is phenomenal. And I hope, because I love this country, you know, my mother was born in Scotland. And the Hebrides, Stornoway, that's serious Scotland. We were talking about it. And I want this country to do well. And you have great assets that you're going to start using, I believe, under this Prime Minister.
Thank you. And I've got Matthew from the Economist. Matthew.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Mr. President, you say that President Putin has let you down. Have negotiations run out of road, and what are your next steps to compel an end to this war?
Well, he has let me down. I mean, he's killing many people, and he's losing more people than he's killing. I mean, frankly, the Russian soldiers are being killed at a higher rate than the Ukrainian soldiers. But yeah, he said, let me down. I don't like to see it's death. You know, it doesn't affect the United States. We have, other than unless you end up in a world war over this thing, you could. This was a thing that would have never happened had I been president. If I were president, it would have never happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. Most people agree it didn't happen, nor was it close to happen. And I spoke to President Putin about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. I've said that many times he was. But he would have never done what he did, except that he didn't respect the leadership of the United States. They just went through the Afghanistan total disaster for no reason whatsoever. We're going to leave Afghanistan. We're going to leave it with strength and dignity. We're going to keep Bagram, the big air base, one of the biggest air bases in the world. We gave it to them for nothing. We're trying to get it back, by the way. Okay, that could be a little breaking news. We're trying to get it back because they need things from us. We want that base back. But one of the reasons we want the base is, as you know, it's an hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. So a lot of things are happening, but I am very disappointed in the fact that that one's not settled. To think that we settled Azerbaijan and Albania as an example, it was going on for years. It was never going to be settled. If you remember, the prime minister and the presidents, they were there for many years. They said, when they were in my office, we settled. And they started off at both sides of the Oval Office, so far away. I didn't know you could be so far away. And as we were together for an hour, and they kept getting closer, closer. And by the time we finished, we all hugged each other. And one said, I've been in this position for 22 years, and all I've done is kill their people. The other was there for 7 years, and all he did was kill their people. And we got it settled. And we did others, as you know. The Congo, we settled the Congo with Rwanda. That was going on, and that was a machete war. There was a war. Many people, close to 10 million people killed. We got that. So my biggest disappointment, but it's, you know, look, we did 7, and most of them were not thought to be settleable. We did India and we did Pakistan. That's 2 nuclear. That was purely for trade. You want to trade with us, you're going to have to get along. And they were going at it hot and heavy. But the Russia situation, I hope we're going to have some good news for you coming up. But again, it doesn't affect the United States. And it doesn't so much affect you, because you are a lot closer to the sea than we are. We have a whole ocean separating us. But I will say this, it's millions of people have died in that war, millions of souls. And they're not American, they're soldiers, mostly soldiers, as you know. The soldiers are being killed at levels nobody's seen since the Second World War. But they're being killed, and I feel I have an obligation to get it settled for that reason. Thank you.
And just to add on that question, because we have to put extra pressure on Putin. And it's only when the president has put pressure on Putin, that he's actually shown any inclination to move. So we have to ramp that pressure up. I think it's important to have this conversation in the context of what's happened in recent weeks. We saw damage and bombing to the British Council in Kyiv. These are targets that it was thought until recently were not targets that would be hit. The British Council, the European Union Embassy, the Council of Ministers, where President Zelensky's ministers work was hit again. These were thought to be places that wouldn't be hit. And then the incursion into Poland last week. And if you put that together, what you can see is either an emboldenment or at least increased recklessness on Putin's part. And that's what I said earlier, that they're not the actions of someone who wants peace. So we have to ramp up. And we discussed earlier today, we have built the coalition of the willing with British leadership and French leadership, stepping up with military planning in the seas, in the sky, on the ground, and ramping up what we do with the Ukrainians themselves. And of course, that taken with an American guarantee is now an example, I think, of the challenge of Europe stepping up to the plate, which it has done in the last few months, to show through what we and the French have done, that we're prepared to take the lead in this and take the necessary measures.
But that's a war that could have been a third world war, and I don't think we're going to be there now. But that was heading to a third world war, and what a shame it is. What a shame it is.
Ms. Bridget, do you want to call some of the...
I would love to call a few of them. Bev, do you want to have any question?
News. Having been in DC for a few weeks, it's really interesting to see how you run the country as a proud Christian leader. And it really begs the question to the Prime Minister, if you don't mind, are we still a Christian country? But also...
when you say we, are you living here? Or?
Here, the UK. I'm still British. I might live in America, I'm still British. But also...
I can't give you that answer.
That's for the Prime Minister, but also, despite what we talked about in Scotland a few weeks ago, we still have 12,000 people a year here being arrested for social media posts, for free speech violations. Does that not remain an important area that there is still a lot of disagreement on?
Yeah, look, I mean, in terms of a Christian country, I was Christian, so that is my church has been all my life, and we are, that is wired into our informal constitution. Of course, we celebrate many other faiths as well, and I'm really proud that we're able to do so as a country. And on free speech, that has long lived in this country. Free speech is one of the founding values of the United Kingdom, and we protect it jealously and fiercely, and always will. And we will bear down on any limits on free speech. I draw a limit between free speech and the speech of those that want to peddle paedophilia and suicide social media to children. And therefore, I'm all for free speech. I'm also protecting children from things that will harm them, paedophiles, those that peddle suicide, which had a terrible consequence for individual, particularly teenagers. And so that's the balance we strike. But we have had the freedom of speech in this country for a very long time, and we will always protect it.
Thank you very much, Brian. Please.
Thank you, Prime Minister. It's good to see you again. You have a beautiful country. Thanks for having us. Two questions. One, just recently, President Trump labeled Antifa domestic terrorists. Would you consider doing something like that in your country?
Well, we obviously will take decisions for ourselves. I don't want to comment on the decisions of the president, but we take our decisions ourselves.
And my question to you, President Trump, is there any update on the auto ban?
Yeah, she's gotten worse for their standpoint. The people that used it, and one in particular, one person was never told by Biden to do it. Only spoke to Biden twice, and that was just talking about the weather, not talking about any order. And he was taking orders from people other than Joe Biden. Joe Biden wasn't giving those orders. Joe Biden didn't believe in open borders. He didn't. I've known him for a long time. He was never the brightest bulb in the ceiling, as you know. You can go back 40 years ago and you'll see that. Go back and take a look at the hearings of Justice Thomas, and you'll see that very much. But he didn't believe in open borders and all of this nonsense that they're peddling now, which is why they're not in office any longer. It's a shame. The auto pen was illegal. It was illegally used. He never gave the orders. He never told them what to do. And I guess the only one he signed, or one of the few he signed, was the pardon for his son. But you had the congressman who, when they got the information, they found out they were guilty. And they deleted and destroyed all information, everything. You couldn't get any out of it. They found out that Nancy Pelosi actually was offered the 10,000 soldiers and she turned them down. They found out many things that were very bad. So they deleted and destroyed all information. You talk about freedom of the press and freedom of speech. How about that one? And there's not a thing. This is after a year and a half of hearings. They destroyed everything. And somebody's got to be held responsible. So Biden, what he did is they knew, I don't think he knew, but somebody knew. I don't think Biden had a clue about anything, if you want to know the truth. But they gave a pardon to those Congress people. They gave a pardon. Those people are so guilty. They gave a pardon, but Biden didn't know about it. The people, whether it's Lisa or any of those people in there that really ran it, I know them all. And they're sick people, they're smart people, they're very smart, they're probably brilliant, but they're sick in ideology. And they were running the auto pen. And it was totally illegal what he did. And I hope it's going to be so adjudged. Okay? Let's see. Peter, go ahead.
And this deal that you're working on, this is for the Chinese to sell TikTok to an American buyer.
Yeah.
Are the Americans going to have to come up with their own algorithm, or are they going to continue to use the successful but addictive Chinese algorithm?
So what we're doing, and we're speaking to President Xi on Friday to see if we can finalize something on TikTok, because there is tremendous value, and I hate to give away value, but I like TikTok. It helped get me elected. In fact, Charlie said, "Sir, you ought to get on TikTok. You'd be great." I said, "Really? Tell me about TikTok." And we, as you know, we did unbelievably well with youth, like at a level that no Republican has ever even dreamt of. And in what, you know, look, I think we won it for a lot of reasons, but that was a reason we won the election by such a big number. TikTok has tremendous value. The United States has that value in its hand because we're the ones that have to approve it. I specifically get the right to approve it. The people that are investing in it are among the greatest investors in the world, the biggest, the richest, and they'll do a great job. And we're doing it in conjunction with China. But we are getting, the United States is getting a tremendous fee plus, I call it a fee plus, for just making the deal. And I don't want to throw that out the window. I can say this, that you'll have a lot of very unhappy youth. And I use TikTok very legitimately, very straight, just statements every day. I do little statements, short statements. Sir, make it short, please. And TikTok Jack, we call him. It was pretty good. Did a good job for me, I guess. But no, I'd rather reap the benefits. I mean, the kind of money we're talking about is very substantial. And it'll be owned by all American investors and, you know, the best investors and the, you know, very rich people and companies are going to be owning it. Very, very straight, very legitimate companies, and really companies that love America. So they're going to be owning it. It's a big thing. And on a much bigger scale, and probably that's why we were able to get that. But on a much bigger scale, we're pretty close to it. We may do an extension with China, but it's an extension based on the same terms that we have right now, which are pretty good terms.
Thank you for Prime Minister Starmer. If you feel so strongly about officially recognizing Palestine for statehood, why are you waiting for President Trump to leave the country? Why can't you just do it right now? And isn't there a risk in rewarding Hamas with that?
Well, let me be really clear about Hamas. They're a terrorist organisation.
Okay.
Who can have no part in any future governance with Palestine. And what happened on October the 7th was the worst attack since the Holocaust. We have extended family members. I understand firsthand the psychological impact that had across Israel. So I know exactly where I stand in relation to Hamas. Hamas, of course, don't want a two-state solution. They don't want it. They don't want the ceasefire. I'm very clear where I stand on that. On the question of recognition, I made my position clear at the end of July as to the timing, which has got nothing to do with this state visit. And I've discussed it with the president, as you would expect amongst two leaders who respect each other and like each other and want to bring about a better solution in the best way that we can. Thank you so much. Can I go back then to Robert at ITV?
Robert Person, ITV. Mr. President, you uniquely, you alone, the whole world, have the power to persuade Prime Minister Netanyahu to stop the demolition of Gaza City, to stop the starvation of Palestine, and to stop the killing of civilians. If not now, when will you exercise that power and tell him to stop?
Sure.
And then for both of you,
But you do understand about October 7th.
You do understand. Believe me, I understand.
One of the worst days in the history of humanity. What happened, I have seen the tapes. Babies that are 4 months old, that's chopped up to pieces. And you've seen the tapes and I've seen the tapes. You're a professional, so am I. And people forget about October 7th. I can't forget about it. So I want it to end, but I want the hostages back. I don't want the hostages used as human shields, which is what Hamas is threatening to do.
But as soon as they're back, that's the moment you will tell Netanyahu.
Well, it would certainly help, but I have to have the hostages back. And I don't want them back piecemeal, as I said before. I want them back.
And on a separate issue, free speech, your Vice President Vance said that free speech is under attack in the UK. Do you agree with him? And Prime Minister, we saw the dismissal of a very well-known chat show host in America last night, Mr. Kimmel. Is free speech more under attack in Britain or America?
Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else. And he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent. Please go.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, on the question of Charlie Kirk, can I just express how shocking that is, I think, to everybody who believes in free speech and in democracy. It sent shockwaves through the world. And I know that he was a friend of the president's, and I reached out straight away to the president because I understood how impactful it would be on him and his family. And we all need to be absolutely clear about that. Whatever our political views, it is shocking and is to be condemned. On free speech, not much to add to the answer I gave earlier. This country's had free speech for a very, very long time. It is part of who we are as a country, and it is the values that we fought for. We fought for it during the Second World War alongside each other. So we need no reminding of the importance of free speech in this country. Thank you, Robert. And I go to Beth, the final question, please, Beth.
Thank you so much.
Stein.
Thank you, Beth Ripley-Stein. Thank you, Prime Minister. If I could start with you. Prime Minister, President Trump has said he's ready to impose major sanctions on Russia if NATO countries stop purchasing Russian oil. He's got a point, hasn't he? Is that what you now believe is needed to bring Putin properly to the table? And what's your message to the President on US sanctions? And Mr. President, if I may, the King praised your personal commitment last night to finding solutions to the world's most intractable conflicts. You have invested much of your time and effort in Ukraine. But even as you seek to broker a deal, President Putin is escalating war, he's firing drones into NATO airspace. You say he has let you down. Was it a mistake to invite him to Alaska? Do you regret it?
No.
And is it time to squeeze him, sir, and scare him and impose sanctions? And finally, if I may, the elephant in the room, Lord Mandelson, he is no longer the ambassador. Do you have some sympathy with him that he lost his job over historic links to Jeffrey Epstein. Thank you
I
very much,
don't
sir.
know them, actually. I had heard that, and I think maybe the Prime Minister would be better speaking of that. That was a choice that you made, and I don't know. What was your answer for that?
Well, I mean, it's very straightforward. Some information came to light last week, which wasn't available when he was appointed, and I made a decision about it, and that's very clear. On the question of the pressure on Putin and on Russia, which is obviously really important. Look, I think it is a challenge to Europe. There are a number of European countries which are too reliant on energy from Russia. The UK actually obviously is almost got nothing at all, but we do need to bear down and work with our European counterparts here. There are one or two countries, I think, that do need to look again at the question of energy. There's no one silver bullet here. We do have to have a wider sweep of sanctions, which we put in place a number of times, working across Europe and with the United States. And of course, we must, and we are, making sure that Ukraine is in the strongest position now, because one of my long concerns here has been that whilst we talk about a ceasefire, and we all want a ceasefire, and we talk about what might happen after a ceasefire, we mustn't forget that Ukraine needs our support now. And we've said we stand with Ukraine from the start to finish, and that means we must continue to supply them with what they need in order to fight this war, which of course resulted from and is a result of Russian aggression. We have particularly done the sort of leadership role in the coalition of the willing, so that if there is a ceasefire and if there is a deal, I do hope there is, that is then lasting and not then broken, because given previous history, I don't trust Putin. Thank you.
Very simply, if the price of oil comes down, Putin's going to drop out. He's going to have no choice. He's going to drop out of that war. And when I found out that the European nations were buying oil from Russia, and as you know, I'm very close to India. I'm very close to the Prime Minister of India. Spoke to him the other day, wished him a happy birthday. We have a very good relationship. He put out a beautiful statement too. We have, but I said, you know, I sanctioned them. China is paying a very large tariff right now to the United States, but I'm willing to do other things, but not when the people that I'm fighting for are buying oil from Russia. If the oil price comes down, very simply, Russia will settle. And the oil price is way down. You know, we got it way down. We're drilling and we produce more oil than anybody else in the world. We're doing a lot. But I was disappointed to see that. And the Prime Minister was disappointed to see that. And it wasn't him, it was other countries. And you can't do that. We can't do that. We can't. That's not playing fair with the United States. And we can't have that. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the collagen. This collagen is dual purpose. It's going to help with your skin, your hair, your nails, but also your musculature, your bone density, the health of your cartilage, and your joints. Take it every day. It's a powder. You mix it with soft foods or filtered water, a smoothie, or even with milk, but take it every day. Do resistance training to get the max benefits from it. But please go to my store and get the collagen and use it every day. It's part of the anti-aging protocol. Gladiator barley, high density protein. This will help you to gain muscle and strength, bring down inflammation, detoxify your body, and soak up free radicals with superoxide dismutase. This will help you to recover from your workout quicker. You'll build up muscle faster. But also, when you're bringing down inflammation, that's going to help with your joints. It's going to help with your immune system and endocrine system, because when you're bringing down in chronic inflammation, you're helping your body go back into homeostasis. By bringing down inflammation at the vascular level, you're helping your cardiovascular health. And by bringing down inflammation at the cerebral level, you're helping the health of your neurons. This is a dual purpose supplement that you should be taking every day. It's a powder. This is a month supply. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Let's go to the Hill now with Barack Obama talking about Charlie Cook's shooting.
Good morning and welcome to Rising. Thanks so much for joining us on this Wednesday morning. We've got
Thursday, don't push us back.
Oh my gosh, it's Thursday.
Don't be crazy, Robbie.
That's good news. I'm traveling just there. I was distracted by this beautiful kind of light peeking through the clouds. You all can't see it, but we've got these.
It was so dark yesterday, and Robbie does not like a dreary day, okay? He's very not sunshine.
Because I'm so bright. I'm so bright.
So he doesn't like dark days.
All right, well, coming up on Rising, former CDC director was testifying on Capitol Hill yesterday, and things did get a little bit testy.
Plus, FBI Director Cottrell also got into some heated exchanges with Democratic lawmakers over those Epstein files.
Plus, President Trump has vowed to declare Antifa a terrorist organization. But Lindsay, let's get to your radar. What's on it?
Yeah, let's talk about it today. So former President Barack Obama says the nation is at a, quote, inflection point after the assassination of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk. In his first public remarks on the shooting, Obama called Kirk's death a tragedy. Let's take a look.
Regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, what happened to Charlie Kirk was horrific and a tragedy. What happened, as you mentioned, to the state legislators in Minnesota, that is horrific. Minnesota, that is horrific. It is a tragedy.
Now, Obama made those remarks at the Jefferson Educational Society's Global Summit Tuesday night. He argued that America is in the middle of a political crisis and went further, noting that the President Trump is fueling divisions with his response to the tragedy. But what stood out to me most was the contrast Obama drew between how presidents respond in moments of national pain. He pointed back to former rivals like George W. Bush, potential president that ran for one, John McCain and Mitt Romney, people who, despite sharp policy differences, understood the assignment when tragedy struck to unify the country. That reminded me of how Obama himself handled one of the darkest moments of his presidency, the 2015 mass shooting at Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina. Now let's remember, that was a white supremacist who murdered 9 Black worshipers in their sanctuary, hoping to ignite a race war. Obama didn't scapegoat political enemies or look for the loudest partisan villain to attack. He just called the shooter what he was, a criminal, and then tried to rally the nation toward unity.
This is not the first time that Black churches have been attacked. And we know that hatred across races and faiths pose a particular threat to our democracy and our ideals. The good news is I'm confident that the outpouring of unity and strength and fellowship and love across Charleston today, from all races, from all faiths, from all places of worship, indicates the degree to which those old vestiges of hatred can be overcome.
Now that's presidential leadership, setting a tone that calms the country instead of pouring gasoline on an already burning fire. But compare that to how President Trump responded to Kirk's assassination.
It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals.
Now, Trump played the blame game 2 minutes into a 4-minute speech. He took the tragedy and used it as a political tool, targeting his opponents rather than simply mourning the loss and trying to bring unity. Obama this week called that out.
I've noticed that there's been some confusion, I think, around this lately. And frankly, coming from the White House and some of the other.
I'm going to interject here for a second. The shooting of Charlie Kirk was to silence not just freedom of speech, but to do it in a huge public setting that was being streamed across the internet, which was not what happened during that black church shooting incident that they were referencing back in 2015. Secondly, Charlie Kirk was moving young people into registering and voting for Republicans, which is going to be super important for the midterm elections. That wasn't the same dynamic with the Black church. And not only that, Turning Point was a major fundraising mechanism for the Republican Party, which wasn't the case for the Black church in 2015. These are two totally different situations, totally different. It was a political assassination that took place, not racial hate. Two different things.
Positions of authority that suggest even before we had determined who the perpetrator of this evil act was, that somehow.
This is the point I'm making. If you look at it, this is what I've been saying about watch for people early onset of dementia. I could spot it, and I could spot it a mile away in 20 seconds. He has neurological decline. Just watch how he's doing his sentence structure and compare it to, and he's not that old, but he's a smoker. He went through COVID. All right. But the thing is that there's early onset of dementia happening right now with this guy.
Going to identify an enemy.
He can't even, his sentence structure is fucked up.
His line of thinking could lead the country down the wrong path.
We're going to identify an enemy. We're going to suggest that somehow.
See that? See the pausing?
Enemy
See, he has an idea in his head and he can't form the thought into a sentence. There's too much pausing going on here. This is the point I'm making. You're gonna see 20 or 30% of the people you know with early onset of dementia within the next 5 years. Next 5 years. Now, part of it is because of an ischemic issue. Part of it is going to be an amyloidosis issue. And a subset of that is a prion issue. Now, in terms of the percentages, it's about 75% for ischemic. It's about 24% for amyloidosis and less than 1% prion. That's what's happening.
At fault. And we are then going to use that as a rationale for trying to silence discussion around.
See this? He's got it.
Who we are as a country and
it's starting. It's starting. And because he's a smoker, it's probably a scheme.
Leadership isn't about silencing the debate or vilifying half of the country because they hold different views. It's about making space for the disagreement without justifying violence. Not one Democratic leader on the left wished for Charlie Kirk to die because of his views. Not one. Disagreement with someone's ideology is not the same as endorsing their murder, and suggesting otherwise is not only dishonest, it's dangerous. At the end of the day, presidents set the tone. When tragedy strikes, the job is simple, but it's hard. Comfort the nation, call for unity, and make sure the civil discourse continues. Because blaming political rivals for the act of one violent criminal does not just miss the mark, it leaves the country more divided. And to me, that's not leadership.
I personally think that Barack Obama is part of the Fabian Society. All right? And the Fabian Society is about pushing socialism, but do it incrementally. He was left. Now, AOC, they aren't part of the Fabian Society. They're more radical than the Fabian Society. They want to push it not slowly, but abruptly. And that's what's happening here. It's democratic socialism. It's Marxism. Barack Obama was a Marxist. He wasn't a capitalist.
I appreciate the things Barack Obama said there. I don't disagree with them at all. I don't think the immediate aftermath of a horrific mass shooting should be used as some pretext for political persecution of your enemies. And a lot of what the Trump administration is going to do in response to this, I don't.
You have said that, yeah. I want everybody to know that you did say you don't think this was a
Thank you. But
Wait. I'm telling you, what happened to Charlie Kirk was a political assassination because Turning Point was heavily involved in the funding mechanism of the Republican Party, and the Democrats need to break that apart for the midterm elections. And that added benefit of Turning Point was bringing youth into the Republican camp, which is what the Democrats. That's the constituency that the Democrats need to try to win the midterm election. So no, this was a political assassination. There's no doubt about that. He was silenced he was silenced at the very surface because of his speech. People didn't like it. But the thing is that there is a leftist mentality to silence conservatives. Look at what Milo retired because of the free for all. You got Candace Owen and Ben Shapiro and other conservatives that can't speak on campus because they're shouted down, or security's out of control, because you got crazy ultra liberals on campus. So do the ultra liberals really believe in freedom of speech? But it gets way beyond that. This was a political hit based on the funding mechanism and the recruiting mechanism of Turning Point. So if you have a society, the ultra liberals, trying to erode the Constitution, then it's a lot different. It's a lot different than what happened in 2015 with the Black church. It's totally different.
But you know, when Obama says not to politicize it, not to blame the rhetoric of your opponents, I just find that to be such a hollow remark, because that has long been the textbook response to tragedies perpetrated by plausibly or discernibly.
We're back and eager to share stories of wildlife conservation.
We have the best job on the planet and love getting to take you.
Plausibly or discernibly right-wing figures, or assumed to be right-wing figures, by the mainstream media and the Democratic Party of progressive activists. When Gabby Giffords was shot during Barack Obama's presidency in 2012, Democratic representative in Arizona, the response from Democrats, I guess I can't recall precisely what Barack Obama himself said, but the response from Democrats in the mainstream media and progressive activists was overwhelmingly to blame right-wing rhetoric in the Tea Party, even though it turned out the shooter had nothing to do with the right at all.
I push back on those. I think that the response was to try to go to Congress to push gun laws forward, and that's where discussion and debate. But that's usually the just to figure out how.
Here's the Guardian. Here's the Guardian from 14 years ago. Gabby Gifford shooting in the Guardian's progressive news website. Gabby Gifford shooting reignites row over right-wing rhetoric in U.S. Sarah Palin at center of storm over political vitriol after Spree leaves 6 dead. It had nothing to do with Sarah Palin.
So Fox News, Newsmax, MSNBC can do what they want. I'm talking about the president. That's the clear distinction I'm making. It comes from the top down. The president must lead in this moment and be the leader for the party and show an example. And so what President Obama did during his term was to try to be that example. And the rhetoric still continued on who to point fingers and blame at. But when it's coming from the top, to me, that's problematic, because we're trying to bring the nation together, or at least we need to try. We are at a really contentious point in our nation's history, and it's not the worst of times, and it doesn't need to be the worst of times. And so it starts from the top on trying to bring people together. That's the biggest issue for me, is that, yes, everyone's saying what they want to say. All these people that have podcasts and blogs, I'm not trying to criticize and figure out how to organize all of them. I'm asking for the president to be presidential.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that like a fair ask? I think that you should want that from your president.
No, a president needs to be a leader. And if they see that there is an existential threat that's happening to the Constitution, that it has to be curtailed and met at the pass. If not, it will metastasize. And there's a Marxist takeover that's going on with these ultra liberals in our communities. Look at what's happening in Boston. Look at what's happening in New York. This is not just my imagination. It's happening. Mandami is a fucking communist. Mayor Wu is a fucking communist.
Right, but I just think we're looking back on Obama's own terms with, we're looking at it through rose-tinted glasses to say that there was no division or that division was not being fostered. It was loftier rhetoric than that which is employed by Donald Trump, but conservatives certainly felt that division was being.
This week, Dick
But
Durbin, Senator Dick Durbin
Robbie's
is
right
saying
on
that to characterize MAGA as Nazis is problematic. And on the other side, when
Okay.
Republicans characterize Democrats as the party of murder or evil, that's also
No.
extremely problematic. Why can't we agree that
Democrats,
those things are not-
Democrats have different, have a different makeup. They have a centrist that didn't want to go Republican. They have left of leaning of center, which is the bulk. And then you have this small fringe, less than 10%, that this is ultra liberal stuff that is Marxist. And that's the problem. You have trillions of cells in your body, trillions of cells, all organized in a chaotic way, but it's your body works. But then you have a few cells that become cancerous. And as long as it stays locally as a tumor and it doesn't spread, your body still functions. But it's just a few cells out of trillions. And then over time, it starts to grow, and the divisions of cancer grow faster. But then let's say you have now 1 billion cells in a tumor compared to trillions of cells in your body. And then all of a sudden, it starts to get into the lymphatic system. And then all of a sudden, now you have a lymphoma. Ooh, big problem. But it was only 1 billion cells out of trillions. Marxism from the ultra left is small in comparison to the population, but it can metastasize, and it has to be cut out, rooted out, or we're not going to have a constitution. Just like you won't have a body, a constitution, if there's a metastasized cancer. If you have in the modern politic a metastasizing in your society of Marxism, you won't have a constitution, the written form.
Right. That these parties don't cause murder and evil, and these parties are not also Nazis, right? This is like just the basis of my argument right here.
Well, I'm fine to take that, to accept your proposal that not to call enemies Nazis or murderers or whatever it is.
Because the people committing the act are the people with the gun. I mean,
Right, I don't think that's helpful, and I also don't know that it is plausibly connected to this shooting or any other shooting, the rhetoric of any. That's actually where I draw the biggest line, is that people's inflammatory rhetoric is asserted without evidence that is at the root of the violence problem we're seeing. And this shooter, to be clear, is
The reason why there is more violence in the society is a multitude of reasons. It's the environment, what individuals are eating and ingesting, that's leading to unhealthy conditions, especially psychological. The media is also a stressor that's leading to psychosis. And then this battle between conservatism and liberalism. And if we don't move back to this God, country, and family pillar system that I keep on talking about, it's only going to get worse. Because ultra liberals don't want to protect the Constitution. They want to erode the civil liberties. They want to erode the idea of a two-party system. They want a one-party system. They want more social programs. They want more porous border. Well, wait a minute. How do you maintain your country? This is a big problem. People need to wake up to it. And it's getting to the point where if something is happening within the society And it is leading to the point where it is going to kill the goose that lays the golden egg and erode the Constitution, shred it, or turn this grand constitutional republic experiment and try to burn it to the ground and usher in communism through democratic socialism, then people need to fight back. It's a threat. It's a threat to the system. Just like how cancer is a threat to your system.
It has left-wing motivations, clearly, but was probably radicalized by online peer groups rather than the
It's a multiple
political figures. But
it's a multitude. It's a multifactorial problem, Robbie. Come on, it's not one thing. It's the environment. It's the social media. It's the politic. It's the gender dysphoria. It's the economic hardship. It's all of it together. It's the overuse of the lobbying group capturing our representatives. I'm a Republican, all right? But I know for a fact that uber wealth controls Congress. That needs to stop. How do you do that? You tax the hell out of them. 75% of their wealth. Boom. And guess what? They'll have less money for the lobbying group. But it also means that social programs need to go away. Why? Because the country can't afford it. So you got both sides. You got the Republicans that are saying just cut the taxes and try to cut social programs. And you have the Democrats that are saying increase the social programs and increase the taxes. And both are wrong. Both are wrong. The pragmatic solution to this is tax the uber wealthy to cut their power. And then you cut the programs. You cut the Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security based on a tranche system based on your age. And you slowly get people off of it. And therefore, the country is not as indebted. But both sides won't do that because socialists think that you need more social programs. And laissez-faire capitalists think that you should just have less taxes and no social programs. But people need to realize that we're in a problem. We are going into a debt loop or a doom loop. And the answer isn't from the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. All right, let's listen into Jimmy Kimmel being pulled.
Navan is the #1 rated business travel platform. It is a one-stop travel shop where employees book on their own, while you stay in control of spend.
First, a talk show host goes dark. ABC pulling Jimmy Kimmel off the air indefinitely following a flood of criticism over his comments on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Here's what he said that's landed him in so much hot water.
We had some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from.
So the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, heard that and putting Kimmel's suspension in context last night. He's arguing that late night shows alienate the audience and the affiliates who carry their program by giving priority to politics over comedy.
A lot of these affiliate groups said, to your point, we're tired of carrying this stuff. Late night shows, something's going seriously awry there.
People need to understand. And I'm not a big fan of Alex Jones at all. All right. First of all, I'm older than Alex Jones. So which protocol do you want? Which health protocol do you want to follow? The DrPaulCottrell protocol that actually works, or Alex Jones? All right. Then just put that aside. All right. right after 9/11. And when Alex Jones was doing his radio show, he had syndication across the country. He did very well for himself for a person that didn't go to college or didn't graduate. All right. But the thing is that he was pushing against the narrative of, and the whole truther movement starts under him. All right. He lost most of his syndication, his radio station syndications at that time. And all the liberals didn't mind. And even the Bushes, the ones that were so pro-Bush and so pro, military interventionists. All right. So he was getting it from both sides. But he lost a lot of money and he was silenced. That was the first beginning of the silencing. And then when Sandy Hook happened and he was silenced from the YouTube and these streaming services, and Apple decided to take off his app off the App Store. So he was silenced twice, during 9/11, right after 9/11, and then I think it was around 2018, 2017. All right. Where were the liberals there? Were the liberals there to try to protect the freedom of speech? They weren't there. But they're trying to bolster up Jimmy Kimmel. See, the reality is it's not an issue of freedom of speech, all right, for Jimmy Kimmel. What it really is that companies don't have to carry you. They can make that decision. He can still speak. He can create a YouTube show and speak whatever he wants. He can go in Times Square and talk as much as he wants. But it doesn't give him the right that he has to be on ABC or carried by some sort of Disney network. He doesn't have that right.
For gestures that would make fun of everybody in power to being court clerics and enforcing a very narrow political ideology. And Nexstar, as you noted, stood up and said, look, we have the license and we don't want to run this anymore. We don't think it serves the interest of our community. Sinclair did the same thing. So there's more work to go.
Okay, a lot of layers on this. Laura Ingram's got the big picture in a moment here, but first to the story and the reporting. Out of Los Angeles, William Jeunesse begins our coverage. William, hello to you.
Good morning, Bill. For some more context, right? So you had two of ABC's largest station groups decide to pull Kimmel's show before ABC actually acted. And I'll show you where those stations are and why viewers there don't necessarily share Kimmel's hard left worldview. So we have some video here of Kimmel leaving his show yesterday in that plaid shirt, black hat. You also have Brendan Carr, as you mentioned, chairman of the FCC, slammed Kimmel's remarks. So what makes this complicated is the FCC must approve the sale of some of those ABC affiliates. And what critics say really is happening is ABC and indirectly the Trump administration is censoring Kimmel to get that sale approved.
Yeah, I feel bad for Jimmy, and I feel bad for the people that work here, and I feel really bad for our First Amendment rights, which we are this say something that you don't agree with, and then this happens.
Others upset include the ACLU, the Actors Union, SAG-AFTRA, which said, quote, democracy thrives when diverse points of view are expressed. Well, one place you won't
It's not just this. Again, his ratings were tanking. And second, was he ever positive about Trump on anything? Or about Trump voters? The guy was a never Trumper. Why? Because he thought he could be hiding in the herd of liberalism. He could hide in the herd of ultra liberals just laughing at his stupid jokes. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Oh, that's another Trump joke. Ha ha ha. Liberals, I think it should be classified as a disease. But that's just my freedom of speech. All right. But the thing is to say he was a never Trumper and he made money on it. He made millions of dollars on a network that was to demonize Trump. Why? because there was an orchestrated effort to do lawfare, to demonize him in the media, in the jokes. Because, I mean, do conservatives really watch a bunch of comedians? Usually not. And so what they were trying to do is they were trying to demonize him in the jokes, in the joke circuit. And that's the reason why Colbert started faltering. The same reason why Jon Stewart is going to falter. He falters. And what's the other guy that's in New York? I can't even remember his name. His ratings are terrible too. And you have the mainstream media, like MSNBC, CNN, demonizing Trump, demonizing his supporters. That went through the election in 2016, went through all of his tenure for his first term. And then all the impeachments and the lawfare, and then the rerunning in 2020. And then 2024. I mean, they threw everything at Trump. You trying to use the system to demonize them. They use freedom of speech to try to do it, and that's protected. But don't be surprised that when the system is moving towards conservatism, that people push back and don't want your content and aren't willing to support it, and then all of a sudden your multi-million-dollar contract is null and voided. Don't be surprised. And this is one of the effects of the pendulum swinging towards conservatism and away from liberalism, away from the liberal mentality.
That is Jimmy
It's a
Kimmel.
sack of
He's a
shit.
partisan Democrat. And you played what he said on Monday. Well, the following day, Tuesday, he compared Trump's greeting for Charlie Kirk as, quote, how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish. Crazy, right? And if for accuracy's sake, Tyler Robinson's own mother says her son is politically left, not MAGA. He's pro-gay and trans rights. ABC did not attempt to correct that record, but FCC's car did.
To see that American broadcasters are standing up to serve the interests of their community. We don't just have this progressive foie gras coming out from New York and Hollywood.
So no, he referred to a company called Nexstar, right? They are a major owner of ABC stations that said it would preempt Kimmel's program because, quote, we do not believe Kimmel's insensitive remarks reflect the spectrum of opinions, views, or values of our local communities in which we are located. So take a look at this map. It shows the cities in which Nexstar has affiliates. As you can see, many are in the South and some in the Midwest. They are in orange. Now let's go to the second reveal. Sinclair Broadcasting, which also took Kimmel off the air. Those are in red. So you have some stations, both Sinclair and Nexstar, taking Kimmel off the air.
We still have free speech, but is your marketing team feeling stuck with search and social with limited growth? Experience growth with Realize. Realize outcomes educator beyond search and social.
We still have free speech, but if you're putting a television show on broadcasting to millions of people nationwide and you're telling lies, sure, you can do that. That's free speech, but there are consequences to it.
Exactly.
So I heard a connected Hollywood reporter
Exactly.
say last night.
He has freedom of speech, but he doesn't have the freedom to have a mouthpiece on ABC. He doesn't have freedom of reach. And where was he when so many people were trying to save individuals and improve their health during the crisis of 2020? Well, he demonized those people too. No, karma's a bitch. And everything that Jimmy Kimmel's getting, he deserves.
That this is temporary, that Kimmel is a beloved member of the ABC family, and he'll be giving an apology and then back on the air when this blows over. Don't know. We'll see.
Okay, thank you, William, for that, setting the table for us. And Laura Ingram, welcome to our broadcast today. Good morning to you. I mentioned a lot of layers on this a moment ago. Last night, Variety was reporting that Kimmel was going to go on the air and address the comments, but according to their reporting, wasn't going to apologize. That was last night, okay? Kimmel's comments came on Monday night, so that's 3-4 days ago, about MAGA that we played a moment ago. It was on Sunday when Governor Cox from Utah did several Sunday talk shows and talked about the leftist ideology. So go ahead and address this as we try and formulate our ideas about what is next here.
Well, first of all, Bill's report was so informative because you saw where those station groups operate. So a lot of Midwest stations, Virginia, some in the South, a few on, in the mountain states. But that's the American audience that the ABC station groups that are involved here are supposed to serve, right? So they're making a business decision, ABC, for now at least. And I agree. He might very well be back on these stations. But they're making a business decision that these comments are going to lose them money. And Sinclair said, Sinclair Station Group said, unless Kimmel apologized and made a donation to Charlie Kirk's family or Turning Point, they're not interested. He's off. It was pretty clear from Sinclair. The Nexstar merger, I see what the left is doing. They're saying, well, Trump administration censoring Kimmel because Nexstar wants to get the approval from the FCC. And then Brendan Carr went out on Hannity and Benny Johnson's show, and he seemed to put his finger on the scale here against Kimmel. Well, I want everyone to understand this.
Kimmel's
The 1934 Federal Communications Act does require, or allow, I should say, the government to
No, let's
cancel
read
broadcast
this.
licenses, the old
Let's
broadcast-
read this, okay? September 11th. With all these terrible things happening, this is what he stated. September 11th. With all these terrible things happening, you would think that our president would at least make an attempt to bring us together, but he didn't, right? So that seems somewhat benign of a statement. All right, September 15th, the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. That's now starting to become a little bit more, bringing a little bit more animosity between the liberal agenda and the conservative agenda. And I keep on saying this. These talk show hosts and comedians, the far majority of them were designated to demonize the Republican Party and especially Trump. He was almost like an operative, but he was a well-paid operative. And deep down inside, he probably believes it. But he was an operative.
If they determine that the broadcast network fails to serve the public interest. So failure to serve the public interest is a grounds, and obviously extreme cases, for canceling or revoking a broadcast license. Now that is a very extreme penalty. I personally think it would be best if Brendan Carr had just probably stayed off television yesterday and let the market do the work. Because I think the market's becoming very efficient here with these far left comedians. I think their audience is shrinking. I think their influence is very narrow. And I think these station groups were reacting to their audience. They're the people that buy the products and these commercials that air on these shows are saying, look, we're not making money here. This is offending our audience. Do something about it. So I think the market was working pretty well.
I think you're right, Laura. I spent a lot of time.
A trusted strategic partner already by your side. Imagine that. We can.
Before we talk avid Big Ten blood drive ideas, let's get in the competitive spirit with the scavenger hunt. I worked all weekend on it. Save lives and help women.
I think you're right, Laura. I spent a lot of time in local news, many, many years, and people don't realize how much power those local stations have. They're the closest to the audience. They
get those phone calls, you know, all day long, and they have to answer directly to the viewers. And so they can put a lot of pressure on the networks that own them. You mentioned the attack on the left and what they're calling this. This is an attack on free speech. He's a comedian. This is cancel culture. Let's play this sound.
Cancel culture.
It is outrageous.
Just remember what happened to
It's
the.
made by a cheese playbook. This is just despicable.
Think about
disgusting.
this.
And again,
Do you remember after the election of 2016? How much what the cancel culture that was being pushed on supporters of Trump? Or what about the cancel culture that was going on during the 2020 crisis? If you didn't believe a certain ideology from the ultra-lib group. The party of cancel culture is the Democratic Party. Case in point, every time a conservative comes onto campus and wants to speak, freedom of speech, there's supposed to be a debate. No, the ultra-liberals yell them out of town and they cancel the event or create such a stir that it becomes a security. That's ultra-lib doing that. Cancel culture. Cancel culture comes from the Democratic Party and the ultra-lib group. And you got this Aaron Brown that's not even a fucking journalist. All she does is peddle anti-Trump shit.
democratic values.
America is a less free place if late night comedians cannot do and say what they want.
We should not be going after people for this. Look, did he get some things wrong? Yeah. I mean, but he's not a commentator, a news anchor. This is somebody who's a comedian.
Yeah, but what it is he's an operative. He's an operative for the Democratic Party. You're a comedian. And what did Johnny Carson say when he was being interviewed? Comedians should never get into politics, period. Because it's just what you're going to create an animosity in the society. Ooh, Johnny Carson, he was right. And that was decades ago when he said that. He was being interviewed, I believe, in the late 1980s about this. Fast forward to 2025. And what Johnny Carson decided, what he said and he predicted happened. And you got people that are less talented, like Jim Kimball. And he's running an operative, he's running an operation to demonize a certain political party and a certain group of people. And believe me, he's said that Trump supporters are uneducated and buffoons and deplorables. I have almost 5 times more education than he does. 5 times more education. Not 1 time, not 2 times, not 3 times, not 4 times, 5 times. And I'm a Republican. And oh, by the way, long history of serving, of my family serving in the military, going all the way back to the beginning of the nation. I'm pretty sure that Jimmy Kimmel doesn't have that. And I'm a Republican.
Was what he said because of comedy?
I have to make an admission, I've literally never watched Jimmy Kimmel, not 1 time in my life. Never seen it. I've seen clips occasionally on YouTube and stuff, but I've never seen it. So I don't know what he does. I know he's Trump, hates Trump, hates
he's a Trump hater.
Right to hate anyone he wants. He has a right to say anything he wants. However, what he doesn't have is the right to be on ABC.
Exactly.
If ABC decides we're not making money, and this offends at least half or more of our audience. So this First Amendment argument, unless the federal government is really involved here and they don't have grounds for revoking a station license, this isn't a First Amendment issue. This is a market issue, and if they're losing money, there's no obligation on the part of ABC or Sinclair or Nexstar to lose money because of a so-called comic that is not in any way something that most of their viewers want to hear from anyone. So that's not the First Amendment. That's smart business.
I appreciate you getting up for us today. Thank you, Laura. Waiting the press conference too. So
Good to see you.
maybe we'll
Good to
bring
see
you
you.
back. All right. Hey, thanks.
Thanks, Laura.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the soaps that I have. They're structural nano silver soaps. Get peppermint, lavender, lemongrass, or charcoal tea tree from my store. Get a few bars for your household. Very high quality. These are soaps that I use on a daily basis. It's made from structural nano silver. Also, get the toothpaste. The toothpaste has no fluoride, made from structural nano silver. It'll whiten your teeth, freshen your breath, reduce inflammation at the gum line, and help your gum line health. And this is probably something that you really want to use, especially in the fall and the winter. I'm just saying, you know, if you've been paying attention to the wastewater in the United States, something's going to happen in the fall and the winter, and you got to be prepared. Another great supplement that I have is zeolite. Zeolite removes toxins and chemicals and heavy metals. It binds to them and allows you to urinate them out within 6 to 8 hours. Take it every day. Take 3 small drops underneath your tongue. Drink filtered water. Do that every day. And clean your environment. Take a look at the cleaning solutions that you have in your house and put them in double layer containers. Take a look at what's in your garage or your basement. If you don't need these chemicals in your home, get rid of them. Because they do degas, and you are slowly breathing in some of the chemicals at a small concentration. And it does affect your immune system and your endocrine system. So you want to clean your environment, but you also need to detoxify your body. So go to my store and get the zeolite. This is very high quality. You take it every day to detoxify your body. And lastly, the gels. You can get it in a tube form or a quick dispenser form. Have some at work, have some at home. You never know when you need it. It's dual purpose. You can use it as an aftershave to soothe your skin. You can use it as a daily skincare. You can put it on a cut or abrasion or a minor burn. It'll help to heal it faster. Why? Because it keeps it clean. And guess what? If you're not feeling well or someone around you is not feeling well, maybe in the fall or winter, you may want to put this on your hands, around your mouth, around your eyes, around your ears, around your nose. Lightly coat your nostrils. It stays active for 5.5 hours. You can't do that with Perel. Please go to my store. Get prepared. Something's going to happen in the fall and the winter. All right. All right. Let's listen to Fox News about Chuck Schumer.
Are you researching dental implants?
There's a lot of dental offices that'll talk about doing their teeth in the day process. A lot of times what they mean is they'll do the surgery.
CARE Act subsidies, provisions on Medicaid and rescissions, and $490 million for public broadcasting. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says the Republican CR does not, quote, address the growing crisis in healthcare that Republicans have caused, he claims, with their, quote, big, ugly betrayal, or prevent a massive spike in healthcare costs for millions of Americans, says Chuck Schumer. House Speaker Mike Johnson, meanwhile, is warning the Democrats that if they will lose if the shutdown centers around healthcare. A House vote is expected tomorrow morning.
The bottom line is this. We're spending too much in Medicare and Medicaid. We're spending too much in healthcare in general. Why? Because most of the chronic diseases in the United States are self-induced. We're talking about cancers and diabetes and heart disease. Most of these are reversible with proper diet, proper exercise, proper supplementation, detoxifying your body, getting proper sleep. These are all things that can be reversed. And we would reduce radically our annual healthcare bill in the country. We spend tens of billions of dollars on stuff that most of it is reversible and preventable. Most of it. So first, it starts at the citizen level to get their shit together and start getting healthy. Second of all, what is the realization that this country can't afford any more debt. So it means that these social programs have to be truncated. And the third element to this is that the uber wealthy needs to be taxed. And when I say uber wealthy, I'm talking about the multi-billionaires that are the ones that are pushing the agenda through K Street. That's the answer.
Now, is there Congressman Nick Langworthy? Congressman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, Tuesday afternoon, the House released the stopgap spending bill that funds the government to current levels through Thursday, November 20th, 1 week before Thanksgiving. Your thoughts on how the Democrats coming in with a different version?
Well, I mean, what Senator Schumer presented yesterday was simply ludicrous. I mean, the idea that Republicans, for what Senator Schumer is proposing is a 30-day extension of the funding of the government, are going to roll back any changes that we made in the big, beautiful bill. We're going to make the Affordable Care Act subsidies that they put in during for COVID emergency spending. We're going to make that permanent. For a 30-day extension. I mean, they want to shut down the government, and Chuck Schumer and his Democratic senators will own this. That is their choice to shut down the government. If my Democratic colleagues in the House vote against the CR tomorrow, they will be actively voting to shut down the government. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it stuns me to think about putting the money which was issued during COVID back in, because you all have been saying repeatedly that you want to get back to pre-COVID spending. And obviously, we all know that there was way too much spending in response to COVID. But I guess that's what the Democrats want. They want those subsidies back in place.
They've never met a dollar that they couldn't find a way to spend. I mean, they've just a complete misunderstanding of our debt and where we're at in this country at $37 trillion in debt. And they want to continue to spend with reckless abandon. The idea that we would roll back all of the reforms that we worked half a year to do, that 77 million Americans fought for and voted for last November to get a 30-day extension of the government. I mean, they're not serious. They want to shut down because they want to answer to their very angry left-wing base that has Trump derangement syndrome. This is what this is all about.
So where is this going then? I mean, the bill is subject to a 60-vote threshold in the Senate, which of course is 53 to 47 GOP controlled. You're going to need Democrats in the Senate, and of course the House can only afford to lose 2 Republicans if all Democrats vote no, and that's Representative Massey is a public no from Kentucky. So where is this going? Will we see a shutdown then?
We have to stick together. We have to pass this through the House first.
Yeah.
I certainly urge my colleagues to stick together. President Trump has asked us to join united, to stand with what he's trying to do.
Better question. Since the government doesn't have money, maybe you should shut it down. Secondly, if the government isn't effective, maybe you should shut it down. So why should we care?
Keep this country going in the right direction. A vote against this for petty disagreements. This is a clean spending level. This is a clean CR, keeps the government open. And keeps the core function. I've never believed in shutdowns because I think that when you're taxing people at the level we are in this country, when the government's not there to respond to their needs, that is a disservice.
Yeah.
These shutdowns never work, and Chuck Schumer's going to learn that too. I mean, Senator Fetterman has the common sense to say that he supports keeping the government open. We're going to see how many Democratic senators agree with Senator Schumer's ridiculous playbook, or just want to do the right thing for the taxpayers in their states and districts.
All right, let me move on to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Of course, it has reignited the debate over Section 230 protections for social media companies. The videos of the shooting and misinformation around it spread rapidly online. And House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer has invited the CEOs of Discord, Reddit, Twitch, and Steam all to testify October 8th to address the radicalization found online and incitement to politically motivate violence. Congressman, what do you want to see here?
Well, I think that we have.
Go to a website you love with Wix. Where your words create your brand, your opportunity, your breakthrough. Feeling a vibe? Run with it. From can't look away to gotta have it. Make every detail yours. Bring out what's hot. Remove what's not. Crystallize it. Instantly set a tone that speaks in your voice to your audience. Keep moving. Your site grows with you. Add solutions that meet you where you are and take you where you want to go. Smooth to make, easy to love.
What's the learning app again?
IXL. It gives each kid the exact support they need.
Are we talking about IXL? My kids love it, and research shows it even boosts test scores.
IXL, the learning program 16 million students trust. Try it today at IXL.com.
Well, I think that we have a lot of questions in section 230. I mean, is up for some serious debate. I think something's got to be done. These things were put in place to, protect these companies from, disagreements between neighbors about libelous information. What we have here is a radicalization movement, and it's not, really your mainstream social media platforms. We're looking more at Twitch and Discord and these things that have a gaming overlap with that gaming culture. We're seeing a radicalization time and again that's coming through these platforms. I think we have a lot of questions to ask these people, and we have to learn more and more about this culture surrounding the killer in Utah that stole the life of the great American Charlie Kirk.
He sure did. And Paul, he wanted to be more of a gamer.
Yeah.
Right? The suspect.
He did, and the roommate did as well. The roommate is described as an aspiring gamer. It makes you wonder how these people keep it heart and soul together, where the money was coming from relative to 230. This goes back to the foundational days of the internet. The idea was to keep it open, to keep free speech going, make it ultimate First Amendment. However, we get into some dangerous territory, and the early decisions came down in such a way that said, if you put forward that you're going to regulate, you're going to provide oversight, then you own that. That made the companies pull back. We don't want to do that. We don't have to want to hire a ton of people. It blew the doors open. A lot of these forums are very, very unregulated, and let's remember something else. Under the Biden administration, speech was regulated relative to COVID.
Yeah.
And that flew. So now we're seeing a pullback. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes in a different environment.
That's exactly right.
And think about it.
People are gonna
Think
keep
about it.
going.
Look at what the Biden administration did. How many people lost their life because of the censorship? A lot of people. A lot of people. That's a sad thing. That's a very sad thing because they were pushing a liberal agenda.
Right. I like the White House's response to Jimmy Kimmel getting canceled, and that is welcome to cancel consequences. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, meanwhile, Congressman, is defending her endorsement of New York City mayoral candidate Zoran Mamdani. After President Trump threatened to withhold federal money from New York, Hochul is arguing that the Democrat Socialist mayoral is the best candidate to fight the president. This is her goal.
Now think about that. A Democratic Socialist that's a Marxist is being promoted by a Democrat governor in the state of New York. Now do you understand what I keep on saying? You better prepare to battle the Marxist takeover in the United States. It's coming. It's coming.
Instead of actually making New York better, Mamdani did not even immediately endorse Hochul for her own governor's race next year, nor have prominent Capitol Hill Democrats jumped in for him, including Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Where is this going? What do you think this says about the country?
Well, Kathy Hochul once again knuckled under to her radical base.
Yep.
The people that elected Mamdani in the Democratic primary. This is a matter of defending New York. The greatest, largest city, the most important city in America is on the line. Yep. And Kathy Hochul has rubber stamped the idea that a socialist or a communist is going to run that city. And he's surrounded by a lot of the same ideology in their New York City Council. We've seen their bad policies. What they need is a moderating force in that city that can be a force to administer the city. This is not a social experiment as mayor of New York. You got to run a city and make sure things are happening in the right direction. Kathy Hochul's completely wrong-headed. And then you see the Speaker of the New York State Assembly yesterday saying he's ready to go along with raising taxes on New Yorkers. With Mayor Mondami.
Yeah, I mean,
this is where New York's heading.
Congressman, let's face it, there is a Republican in the race. It's Curtis Sliwa. Okay, are you gonna support Curtis Sliwa? Are you gonna get behind the Republican in this race?
Listen, I live in Buffalo, New York. No one cares what I think about the New York City mayor's race in the Republican primary.
Why do you encourage the Republican in the race?
Curtis Sliwa has recruited himself into this race. I don't think he's got a credible path forward. I think you heard the same out of the president earlier this week when he was on Fox News. I think all the candidates that don't have a credible path forward need to just really do some self-reflection. Do they care about the city, or do they care about their own vanity projects?
Well, can you say he doesn't care about the city? He founded the Guardian Angels. He cares about crime. He's been on this
done some amazing things, Maria. Yeah. He's done some amazing things, but he's not going to be the next mayor of New York.
No, he's not. He needs to step down. He needs to step down. It needs to be Cuomo versus Mondami, and then maybe there's a chance. Maybe. But if you have Adams and you have Silvio in there also, it splits the ticket, and boom, guess what? You get a Ross Perot moment. Clinton was an accidental president because of Ross Perot. And Mondami is going to be the accidental socialist, communist, Marxist in New York. Brought to you by a bunch of stupid liberals. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com and get the lozenges and the drops. You're going to need these for the fall and the winter. Make sure you have some at work and at home. And once you have that throat irritation, take them right away. Very high quality. You can get the elderberry zinc on my store. Get a few bags for your household. Also, I have in stock drops, which are smaller than the lozenges. You get 100 in each bag. Get a few bags for your household. Take them right away. You can get it in honey and lemon, cherry flavor, or in blueberry. But get a few bags for your household. Have some at work and have some at home. Take them right away, especially this fall and winter. You have to mitigate the issue right away. Right away. Trust me on this. All right. The fall and the winter is going to be problematic. Be prepared. All right. Let's take a look at more news. Interesting. Let's listen to MSNBC and what Ken Burns has to say. And it's probably liberal, probably have a liberal perspective, but let's just listen to him.
Download the app and get 50% off your first Wonder order with code 50 Google.
Value having a partner is huge. Finding someone you can trust is what really builds the business from the base.
America is Brighteon. Everything that we believe in comes out of the revolution. Our ideas of liberty, equality. It's the defining event of our history.
The American Revolutionary Movement served as a model around the world.
These are not English liberties. These are transcendent liberties. These are liberties that all individuals have by the nature of being human. The American Revolution changed the world.
You know, and what's amazing, a lot of people are going to be upset when I say this, but the American system, the American Revolution, the American governmental system, the idea of embracing the Enlightenment, that's all Freemasonry, all of it. All of it. But you have these truthers out there that are Republicans, right? and they think that it's the Freemasons that are like part of this big cabal that's trying to rule the world, and they don't even realize the ones that are trying to save the country are the Freemasons. These truthers are so stupid. They're just so fucking stupid. But they know better. They know better. They know better. See, it's just like you have crazy, stupid liberals, ultra lib stupidity. You got this, like, you have this stupidity on the right that they think that they connect the dots and they think they know it all. And that, all these secret societies are all bad. What if a secret society is actually trying to save the country? You ever thought of that? And here's a classic example. The whole revolution, American Revolution, was based on Freemasonry. The whole Constitution is based on Freemasonry. But all these truthers know better. You notice that? All these truthers know better.
That's part of the trailer for the American Revolution, the upcoming docuseries, which was 8 years in the making and filmed across 100 different locations. It examines America's founding from a first-person perspective, narrated by cast actors including Tom Hanks, Ethan Hawke, Samuel L. Jackson, Meryl Streep, and many more. And joining us now, award-winning filmmaker and director of the series, Ken Burns. Tonight, Jeffrey Goldberg will be moderating a panel discussion on the project following an advanced screening at the Atlantic Festival here in New York City. That's really cool. And
two of my relatives fought with George Washington. Just keep that in mind. But all these truthers know better about the Freemasons. It's a big cabal and trying to New World Order. Blah, 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 blah. And they're just trying to destroy the country. Really? Really?
Very cool. Cool guys.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Ken, you have great timing here on the concept of liberty.
Mika, I started this project when Barack Obama had 13 months to go in his presidency.
Whoa.
Mark Twain, as everyone says, and I've probably bored you endlessly, famously is supposed to have said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. The rhymes over the last almost decade of working on this are continual and amazing, and they change all the time. We follow the wife of a German general who's coming across the Atlantic to visit her husband with Saratoga and the great British victory that doesn't happen there. And she's terrified because she hears Americans eat cats. If that had come out last year, last fall, it would have been a whole different story. But I'm galloping up like Paul Revere, not to say, as he did not say, the redcoats are coming, the redcoats are coming. He said the regulars are coming out, the regulars are coming out. I'm here to tell you that the revolution is the key to how we survive. The story of our origin story, where our notions of liberty, how the many accidents, the contingencies, when on April 19th on Lexington Green in 1775, the chances of success were 0, and how 6.5 years later it became a success, is the most important event in the history of the world since the birth of Christ. Mm-hmm. And I have been stunned. I'm glad I waited this long in my professional life to try to tackle it, because it's so very complicated and speaks directly to our moment in almost every way.
What you do always so brilliantly, Ken, is shed new light on things we
and that's why it is so important to push back and make sure that we have capitalism and that we don't have this Marxist takeover by the ultra liberal. Maybe we should sit back and actually say, is that Constitution, that document that many people fought for, is upheld and supersedes your own life? You ever had that thought? Like, your life doesn't mean as much as the Constitution? Like, just sit back and really think deeply about that. That no one in your life is more important than the Constitution. And once you have that kind of mindset, then you'll start to realize that it's not okay to let some sort of Marxist takeover take place in this country, and that we need to fight it.
civil rights movement, the Vietnam War, now the American Revolution. Why did you think this was a good time to tell the story we all thought we already knew?
Well, there's no good time when you spend 10 years. I mean, as I was working on it, and nobody talked about the semi-quincentennial coming up. No one was telling you what was going to happen in American politics. And at some point, several years ago, 6 years ago, I said, wow, we may be done in 1775. That's the 250th. So you're never saying right now, you're just saying we need to know where we got started, what our origin story is. And let's be honest, there are no photographs, there's no newsreels. So the American Revolution is sort of covered, encrusted with the barnacles of sentimentality. We don't want to acknowledge its violence. It's a civil war because maybe it'll diminish those big ideas that are happening in Philadelphia. Those big ideas are in no way diminished. They're in fact enlarged by the facts of the revolution. And if you're able to gather the kind of cast to read the hundreds of different voices, not just of the familiar top-down people, they're there and know.
The sad thing is most Americans don't deserve their Constitution. That's the sad thing. You know, it's like that 80-20 rule. About 20% really deserve it. And because of their hard work and efforts, the other 80% just ride the coattails. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the clarity factor and get rid of that brain fog so you're not a crazy liberal. It'll allow you to concentrate. You're going to be able to be focusing on the tasks that you need to do at work or at home or in school. Take it every day, drink it with filtered water. And over time, what's going to happen is you're going to have this positive neuroplasticity. You're going to be able to think faster and improve your memory. Take the clarity factor every day. Very important for a neurostack. And another thing that you could stack with it for a neurostack is NAD Plus is a supplement that will boost up your energy levels, help to repair DNA damage, including mitochondrial DNA, and protect neurons. Ubiquinol, the most bioavailable form of CoQ10. Now, take ubiquinol, that's going to soak up free radicals, it's going to help the health of the mitochondria and protect your neurons. So you stack these two together and you're protecting your neurons and you're helping your neuroplasticity and helping with your memory. It's a powerful neurostack. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5, get $5 off any order. If you spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. And this is a great way so you don't turn into a crazy fucking liberal.
Opaque and unknowable, I hope, but also bottom-up people, you know, Native Americans, small kids, 14 years old, John Greenwood from Boston, who joins the fight. And at the end of the war, the people who are winning it are teenagers and disaffected folks and felons and second and third sons without the chance of an inheritance and recent immigrants. And we think of it as the sturdy militiamen. They're heading off to plant the crops or going home to read the crops. Democracy isn't the object of the revolution, it's a consequence of it. Because when you look at the people who actually won the war, it's us, it's ordinary people.
Ken, thanks to you, Ken, thanks to you and my wife, I've been privileged to see most of it thus far. And I was struck.
Don't tell us how it ends.
We don't know how it ends, given what's going on today. But I was struck.
And Jonathan and Benjamin Raj, the great physician, says the American war is over, but the American Revolution is still going on.
Well, I was struck by how much I thought I knew about the origins of this country that I did not know, that I found out during your classroom. And it's a classroom. It's an epic classroom, this film. What did you learn? What surprised you as you made it?
Everything going into it, it was almost like a daily humiliation of what you thought you knew about. You know, I live in New England. I live with you in New England. We know what's going on. And I had no idea what's going on. It is such a complicated dynamic and so fascinating and so much like today. The free electron word that bounces around is virtue. This is what Adams was worried about. There's too much avarice and ambition, too much greed. We're going to create this new thing where people are no longer subjects, but citizens. They're going to have virtue. And to have virtue, you have to have perpetual education. That's the pursuit of happiness. It's lifelong learning. That doesn't mean the acquisition of objects in a marketplace of things. It means lifelong learning. So you begin to realize all of the things that you've heard are so superficially considered. And when you get down, even the battles themselves have their own character and structure that I think we ignore. We think, oh, Lexington and Concord, and then there's Yorktown, and then we've got a country, and it's the greatest on earth. The last statement is true. But the getting there is so interesting. And the failures of Washington, we don't have a country without him. I mean, this is what we can say. There's nobody you can say that about. We don't have a country without George Washington. But he is deeply flawed. He's rash. He rides out on the...
Right. But the thing is, he was a Freemason that was against the Illuminati. Oh, the truthers don't want to say that. They think everybody's infiltrated by everything. This country will be saved by individuals that are part of the remnant. Now, I want you to really sit down, take a piece of paper, and write this down. This country will be saved by individuals that are part of the remnant. And it's a very small percentage of people. Very small. And believe me, it ain't the truthers.
Battlefield at Kips Bay, and they're grabbing the reins of the horse to pull him out of there. At Princeton, Abe covers his eyes, he's going to be killed, and if he's killed, it's all over, right? And he makes horrible tactical decisions at the biggest battle, the Battle of Long Island, right over there, right? The Battle of Long Island. And he doesn't protect his left flank, and then he does it again with his right flank at Brandywine, another gigantic battle. But he understands at the end that he doesn't have to win. He just can't lose. He can't surrender. He can't be captured. And the British have to win. And they're in this big territory. They're 3,000 miles away from the home office. And it's going on. And we are, as the wide variety of people, the scholar Christopher Brown says, are so amazing that we can coalesce is an extraordinary gift to us today, I think.
Let's check out a clip from the series describing the chaos unleashed following the first shot of the Revolutionary War.
A shot rings out. No one knows where the shot came from. That leads to promiscuous shooting, mostly by the British.
And I'll tell you, it is a privilege to know that my ancestry was a part of the revolution. It's a privilege. It's also a privilege to know that they were part of the Civil War, too. Oh, and World War I and World War II. The Vietnam era.
It's a massacre. Now blood has been shed. Now the man on your left has been shot through the head. Your neighbor on the right has been badly wounded. You can't put that genie back in the bottle.
So, Ken, you mentioned this a few minutes ago, but one of the things that struck me about watching this is the violence of the revolution. We think of the Civil War as hyper-violent, brother against brother. World War II, obviously, also Vietnam. This is a brutal war.
We accept, Jeffrey, about the violence of those other wars, but somehow we don't accept the violence of this. There is proportional violence. There are some places like New Jersey and South Carolina where you do not want to be in this revolution. More British and Hessian soldiers fall in one winter seeking forage than they do in the major battles because it turns into a guerrilla war. The Vietnam analogy, the Brits say, we have this province pacified. And then they go, well, we actually don't have it pacified.
Not at night, right?
And not at night. And people are beginning to really, occupying army does bad things. And they forage, women are raped. It's a horrible situation. And then people who have signed up after we lose the Battle of Long Island to the Declaration of Dependence suddenly are taking up arms out of anger. And Adam says, motivated by revenge as well as by cause. This is a big thing. And what happens is you have all these people streaming into militiamen, streaming into the Continental Army, who are then pushing back the British. It is an amazing story. You know, if you're going to quote from Lexington Green, let me quote from the end. We follow a German soldier named Johann Ewald. He's unbelievably contemptuous of this rabble, right? But he's part of the surrender at Yorktown, and he said, with what soldiers in the world could one do what was done by these men? One can perceive what an enthusiasm which these poor fellows call liberty could do. Who would have thought 100 years ago that out of this multitude of rabble would arise a people who could defy kings? That's us. That's us.
It still is.
Still is.
The new docuseries, The American Revolution, premieres November 16th on PBS and will air for 6 consecutive nights. Also on November 16th, the full series will be available to stream on pbs.org and on the PBS app. Award-winning filmmaker Ken Burns.
Rewind that for a second.
The new docuseries, The American Revolution, premieres November 16th on PBS and will air for 6 consecutive nights. Also on November 16th, the full series will be available to stream on pbs.org and on the PBS app. Award-winning filmmaker Ken Burns, thank you. And of course, you can go to the Atlantic Festival. That's
I think he does good work. He does good work. I haven't seen the Civil War one. I want to see that, but I did watch his Roosevelt's series. Very interesting because it's going from all the way to Teddy Roosevelt through FDR. And it's not just of the people in the family, but also the history in the wars and the Great Depression. So it's this intersection of the personalities of their biographies, but also this arc of history. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating series about the Roosevelts. Now, I was watching his series on Hemingway. I didn't like it. I didn't like his series on Hemingway. But he speaks really well. He captures the essence of the subject matter pretty well with his style, because the Ken Burns style of editing, movement of pictures. So I'll watch this. The Hemingway one, I had a hard time going through because I just something about it. I liked Hemingway as a writer, but in terms of watching the documentary, I wasn't that a big fan of it. But the Roosevelts, he did an excellent job. Absolutely excellent job. You really learn about the nitty gritty, some of that granularity of the time periods. All right. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Cottrell. Why? Because we're going to be going into a revolution, and you're going to need to build some muscle. This is for males and females. You need to do this, especially if you're 40 years of age or older. Take Cottrell as polyphenols, flavonoids, and lignans to help with the gene expression to build muscle. Do some resistance training. Take Cottrell, drink it with filtered water. It'll also help the health of your mitochondria. Omega-3 helps with cardiovascular health. It helps to bring down inflammation, helps improve your lipid profile, and reduces the stickiness of red blood cells. Super important. And you might want to take this in the fall and the winter, but you should be taking it every day to improve your cardiovascular health. Resveratrol, I've been taking this for decades. Resveratrol will soak up free radicals, help with the health of the mitochondria, help with youthful gene expression, and get rid of cells that are in senescence. This stacks well with C60, NAD+, ubiquinol, clarity factor, Myotrol, right? So a great stack to help with your bump, to help with your musculature, to gain muscle, Myotrol. To help with your cardiovascular health and bring down inflammation, omega-3. and to help with youthful gene expression, resveratrol. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5, you get $5 off any order. If you spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. Okay, let's go and listen about what's going on in France. Because they have a problem.
One AI site builder you need to meet. This is dope tech from Wix. And this whole look.
More the story, we can bring in Benoit Dillet, who's a senior lecturer in politics, languages, and international studies at the University of Bath. Thank you very much for speaking to us on France 24. I'd like to start by this scale of today's protest, hundreds of thousands, almost a million, as James Andre just mentioned there. How much of a test is this for the new Prime Minister?
Sorry, he's only been nominated since last week as a Prime Minister. Thank you for having me. Sorry, I was muted at the beginning. Sebastian Lecornu does not change much to the present political crisis, and I think what we are facing right now in France is a fiscal crisis and a political crisis.
And these protests are a pretty common sight in France, but here today we get the sense that there's real anger on the street about a range of different issues, as we've said. Is there something about this movement that stands out to you?
Yes, I think it's very much in continuation with the pension reform strikes that we witnessed 2 years ago. So it's a lot more, if you want, scattered or distributed throughout France, which is a kind of inheritance from the Yellow Vest movement in 2018 and 2019. It's no longer simply concentrated or focused on the Paris capital, but it's really spread out in smaller towns. What we saw with the pension reform strikes and demonstrations were some towns, you had about some towns of 80,000 inhabitants, you had around 50,000 people demonstrating. So very, very large gathering in smaller towns as well that need to be taken into account.
And we can compare today's process also to a more informally organized action last week that kind of failed to block everything as they said they wanted to do. What do today's demos need to achieve in order to qualify as a success?
That's a very good question, and I think it will be, only time will tell. I think the main demand is very much for Macron to go. The presidential elections are a little less than 2 years away, and the French people are really impatient, and they simply want a change. They want a change, and they also at the same time disillusioned by all the promises of change that Emmanuel Macron and the numerous prime ministers have said every single time. So Lecornu is supposed to be someone who wants to listen, who wants to have compromise, but it doesn't really cut it now with the French people. They are really disillusioned with the political class.
Right, and not only is Macron unlikely to resign, I mean, you can tell me if you disagree, but also this new prime minister that he's nominated is meant to be a Macron loyalist.
That's right. So it's difficult on both sides in a way for the protesters or for even the politicians in the opposition, let's say the left. They don't want to make alliances with Lecornu because that would basically be a mistake with the fight of the presidential election in 2 years, in 2027. And at the same time, Macron, we're not sure if he's going to dissolve the National Assembly. He can now, since June this year. So there could be early parliamentary elections, but it's not really clear that we get something different, a configuration which is different than the current hung parliament with three main parties or movements, if you want. The radical left, the center-right, as well as the far-right. It doesn't look like the parliament could be any different. So therefore, it's a kind of game of patience for the next, if you want, 18 months to 2 years.
And as we mentioned, Lecornu is meeting with unions and other members of the opposition. What do you think it's going to take to get, notably the Socialists or any other party on board so that he too doesn't get struck down by a no confidence vote?
Yes. So it's unprecedented. Lots of unprecedented things happened in the last couple of years. So we've seen first, obviously, two prime ministers that have received votes of confidence, and it was unprecedented in the Fifth Republic. And the fact that also Macron basically nominated people who didn't come first in the parliamentary elections. They nominated someone from Les Républicains who arrived only with 7% of the vote, so they were very much down the bottom. And really, it is for the turn of the left to govern at this point. So you're absolutely right. Comes down to certain policies, and one of the main policies is the so-called Zuckman tax, that the left really wants to use that as their, if you want, signature policy to move ahead.
And tell us more about what that tax entails.
So this is a tax of 2% on individuals who have a wealth of more than 100 million euros. In the last 10 to 15 years, there's been a huge increase in the wealth of billionaires, and it is to send a signal to it. So first of all, it's to kind of make up for the lack of fairness, the fact that they're not really paying enough tax or income tax at all because of the way they manage their wealth. And second is to really send a signal to the 99% of the population that those billionaires should actually also bear some of the cost of the debt crisis at the moment. That it's only fair if the very richest pay a bit more, so 2% on 100 million wealth, which is not asking for a lot, while obviously their wealth increases every year by 6 to 8%. So it will they will only increase their wealth by 4 to 6%, which is still a huge increase.
Right, so that's what the socialists want. What about the far-right National Rally? Where do they come in all of this? Could they also be the kingmakers here? And does this kind of political stagnation make them look even stronger ahead of presidential elections in 2027?
So the far right, they want to basically portray that France is in crisis, and it's very messy, and there are bins burning in the streets, and all that is obviously helping the far right to show that there is disorder, and they're going to bring the order, and mostly going to focus on the anti-immigrants stance. Regarding economics, it's not very clear where they stand, because the rhetoric is very much they want to be socially progressive, but when it comes to voting, the Zuckman tax was presented at the National Assembly, and they voted against. So they voted for an amendment that was basically going against the main idea of the tax. So therefore, they actually aligned a lot more on Macron's economic policies than they would want to admit it.
All right, Benoit Dine, thank you very much for your analysis. We'll have to leave it there.
Thank you for having me.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the cleanse, which is 30 parts per million, or max 35, which is 35 parts per million. Take a teaspoon a day, every day, swish in your mouth, gargle 20 seconds or 30 seconds, and swallow it. What this will do is boost up that immune system, help with the health of the epithelial lining, and maintain the mucosal barrier. That will help with that immune system, boost that up. This is the first pillar of my core protocol. The first pillar with the max 35 or cleanse, boost up that immune system. Second pillar, C60, soaks up those free radicals. The third pillar, turmeric, ashwagandha, and lignans to boost up the immune system and help with your cardiovascular system. Fourth pillar, boomer boost, will rev up your metabolism and increase your energy levels. So please go to my store, get the max 35 or cleanse. Make sure you take this every day. I've been doing this protocol for over 5 years. Take a teaspoon a day every day. If you're not feeling well, or someone around you is not feeling well, especially the fall or the winter, take a tablespoon or 2 a day. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and be prepared, because the fall and the winter may be very problematic. Highly probable that it will be problematic. Please go to my store and get the vitamin B complex. This will rev up your metabolism, help with energy levels, and protect neurons. If you're 40 years of age or older, you need to start protecting your neurons and increase your metabolism. You know why? Because there's a lot of people that are older that are fat. And a lot of people in the next 5 years are going to have problems with their neurons. You better start protecting them. And let's talk about that third pillar here. Lignans. Soaks up free radicals. It's going to bring down inflammation. It's going to help with your endocrine system and your immune system. And by bringing down that inflammation, it'll also help to recover from workouts. Turmeric soaks up free radicals and brings down pro-inflammatory cytokines. Super important. If you have chronic inflammation, you're immunosuppressive. You want to bring down that chronic inflammation. Ashwagandha root controls your glucose levels and your cortisol levels. Helps with your cardiovascular health and your immune system. By taking these together, it's a super stack that improves your immune system, boosts it up, and helps with the cardiovascular system by bringing down inflammation, soaking up free radicals. When you're bringing down inflammation and soaking up free radicals at the vascular level, you're reducing plaque formation. And this is part of the reason why this is a major stack for an anti-aging protocol. But it's also a great stack to weather the storm in the fall and the winter. So you better start getting prepared. So go to my store, get the stack, make sure you have it available for the fall and the winter. Or don't be surprised if something really bad happens. All right. Let's listen into Fox News and Shapiro, I think is talking.
Before we talk avid Big Ten blood drive ideas, let's get in the competitive spirit with the scavenger hunt. I worked all weekend on that. Save lives and help win your school $1 million. It's okay. It's in your nature. Come on.
Our nation in mourning after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Supporters have been paying their respects outside of Turning Point USA's headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona. Charlie Kirk will be memorialized with a funeral service on Sunday at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. In a powerful tribute, Utah Valley University draped a massive American flag over the area where Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Students there returned to classes yesterday. Some say they are very shaken.
Just being on campus is hard for everybody. You know, it's a super emotional moment.
Somewhere that we go to further our lives, and it could be also the place where it ends our lives.
He celebrated all the things I support: family, God, love. He never went a day in his life never preaching about how much he loved those. I think it was important that he really, spoke to the youth because they're a upcoming generation.
I don't think UV is ever going to be the same.
You saw Tuesday and Wednesday, we're checking in on the nation and on that campus on a regular basis with our love, our thoughts, and we want to hear theirs, what they're going through. Moments ago, President Trump honored Charlie Kirk's legacy while speaking from the UK.
Charlie Kirk was heinously assassinated for speaking his mind. He was a great young man, incredible future. Some people said he might be president someday. I told him, I said, Charlie, I think you have a good shot someday at being president. And he just wanted to take care of youth. He loved youth. I've never seen anybody relate to youth like Charlie. And they related to him. And they're devastated.
And as we take a moment as a nation to bow our heads and think better thoughts about the future if we can, the left is making that very hard to do by pushing false narratives like the one about Charlie Kirk's suspected assassin. ABC has suspended Jimmy Kimmel's late night show live indefinitely over remarks he made surrounding all of this that we've been through. Kimmel is reportedly furious over the decision and looking for ways to get out of his contract. Here is exactly what he said in his opening monologue on Monday.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than
His whole monologue for years has always been to demonize Trump supporters and Trump and his administration. For years. Notice how he opened it up? MAGA, 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 and they're, you know, just the deplorables. This guy is a dipshit. He's a fucking dipshit.
They can to score political points from.
President Trump posted, "Great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel show is canceled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done." Senior national correspondent William Lajeunesse. William.
Well, here's two things here. What Kimmel said, and secondly, why stations want him off the air. But then there's another layer. There's a $6 billion sale of some TV stations that some feel ABC caved to government pressure to get the deal done. But let's start with Kimmel. Seen here after ABC suspended his show for comments about Kirk's killer and this joke about President Trump.
This is not how an adult greets the murder of somebody who called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old.
This is not a joke. This is not a joke. This is some liberal operation to try to demonize the Republican Party. Tell it, this is not a joke. Come on. And he's been doing this for years. He hides it under, this is a joke. He's a comedian.
Many found that offensive. Also, Tyler Robinson's mother says he's politically left, pro-gay and pro-trans rights. Kimmel was wrong.
To see that American broadcast.
Need a new mattress but confused by all the choices? At Mattress Firm, we make it easy. Our sleep experts have the unrivaled know-how to match you with a perfect mattress. And right now, get
To see that American broadcasters are standing up to serve the interests of their community. We don't just have this progressive foie gras coming out from New York and Hollywood.
So that prompted this from the ACLU and Democrats. Jimmy Kimmel is the latest target of the Trump administration's plan to silence critics and control what American people read and watch.
This is just despicable, disgusting, and against democratic values.
America is a less free place if late night comedians cannot do and say what they want.
We should not be going after people for this. Look, did he get some things wrong? Yeah. I mean, but he's not a commentator, a news anchor. This is somebody who's a comedian.
Well, many feel he is a social commentator, but Kimmel can say what he wants, but ABC can also hold him responsible for it.
We still have free speech, but if you're putting a television show on broadcasting to millions of people nationwide and you're telling lies, sure, you can do that. That's free speech, but there are consequences to it.
And here's the backstory, Harris. The red dots you see are ABC-owned affiliates by Sinclair Broadcasting. The yellow dots represent some of the 32 ABC stations owned by Nexstar, which is trying to buy 64 more stations in a $6 billion deal. That must be approved by the FCC. So many feel that Kimmel is being pulled off the air until ABC can get that deal done, or at least on Nexstar's behalf, help them get this deal done. They suspended Kimmel only until that deal goes through. Then he makes an apology and comes back on the air. But I will say, ABC is losing some money. He makes about $6 million a month for the network. So, you know, it's not chump change, if you will, having him off the air.
He also makes a lot of money. I mean, think about it. And his ratings are low. I mean, they pay him anyway. William, he does have at least one other show on that network. Any word on that?
What show is that?
He's got like a game show on as well. No, okay.
I hate to say it, I go to sleep.
You did. Oh, and that says it all. Okay, William Lajeunesse, great reporting. Thank you. That says it all about the ratings. And focus now, Ben Shapiro, podcast host. Great to see you today. First of all, you're in the media. You're seeing this blow up, as we all did, in social media over the last 24 hours, especially last night.
Just like I don't trust celebrity docs, never trust a celebrity lawyer. All right? And not just that, he's trying to position himself to be the next Charlie Kirk. See, there's going to be this battle now between Milo and Jim and Ben Shapiro. And I think both of them cut their teeth at Breitbart. But the thing is that never trust a celebrity doc, you know, like Dr. Drew, Dr. McCall, right? I mean, you know, go into the clinic and treat people. Stop Stop doing syndicated shows. The same thing here with a lawyer. Same thing here. It's all about the money. He's a modern Orthodox Jew. All right, great. He's as religious as I am. All right. You know, so what? But he's a lawyer, and he's trying to move the persuasion of the society. Now he's of the right person. He's of the Republican persuasion, right, or right of center persuasion. But there's something about Ben Shapiro that I just don't trust. Now, a lot of people don't trust him because he's Jewish, but that's not the reason why I don't trust him. It's because he's a lawyer. He's a celebrity. See, these celebrity lawyers, celebrity docs, they're cut from the same cloth. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. It's not about really helping people. It's all about their own fame and fortune.
Your first reaction?
My first reaction is I'm sort of surprised that it took 10 years for the public to sound off on how much Jimmy Kimmel sucks. I mean, the reality is that he's been awful at his job for full on a decade. His ratings have been terrible. He has become not a comedian, but as Guy Benson over there has said, the woke hope of late night comedy.
Yep.
And so affiliates looking at Jimmy Kimmel at this point and saying, you know what, we don't wish to be associated with Jimmy Kimmel's program. That is perfectly well within the ambit of what affiliates very often do when they don't like the programming or they don't like the things that particular hosts are saying. Sinclair has made very clear their feelings about Jimmy Kimmel. They say they're going to replace his show on the air this Friday with an hour-long tribute to all of our friend Charlie Kirk, which I think is exactly the right move. I would not be shocked at all if that tribute received significantly higher ratings than Jimmy Kimmel's show did in that slot.
Well, back in 2017, there was somebody who already felt like Jimmy Kimmel didn't have great humor. In fact, he tweeted about it. Charlie Kirk. Look at this. Charlie Kirk said then, October 5th, 2017, Jimmy Kimmel isn't funny. Ben.
Well, I mean, Charlie was right about a lot of things. That is just another thing that Charlie was right about. And again, I think that the question as to whether Kimmel is losing his position, whether he ever comes back due to public pressure, or whether it's due to the Trump administration is an interesting question. But there's no question that the general public was not buying what Jimmy Kimmel was selling, and that was evident from the ratings. And if affiliates again say, you know what, we don't wish to put this on our stations, well, nobody has a right to a late night show on ABC or its affiliates.
Well, Kimmel was far from the only person in the legacy media pushing the false narrative that the suspect was MAGA and motivated by far-right ideology. Watch this.
The shooter was right-wing. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's not really hard to figure out. In fact, he was very, very right-wing.
He had at least some association or affinity or fascination or interest in this Groyper group, which would lead you to believe that he's actually not a leftist.
There was an incredible amount of angry discourse from the right, blaming the Democrats, blaming liberals, saying, you're the reason this happened. Only to find out, surprise, 22-year-old white dude, loved guns, didn't check any of them boxes y'all thought he would check, did he?
I mean,
Our tip, Vienna trip. Every flight, pure delight. Culture time, always fine. Fly non-stop to Vienna. Book now on Austrian.com. Austrian.
In a world where you've constantly been told what you can't do, who will you choose to be when presented with something different? Ask your healthcare provider what could be.
I mean, at least they are showing us who they are.
Mm-hmm. It was very clear early on exactly what was going on here. I mean, the early accounts from media outlets, including places like The Guardian and Tablet Magazine, were reporting that friends and family of the shooter said that he had turned very hard to the left. We knew very early on what was etched on those bullets, which included not only gamer language, but a language that was associated with apparently trans issues. And of course, it was pretty clear very early on, as early as Saturday, actually, that this person was a gay man who was in a relationship with another man who believed he was a woman, and they were both into a phenomenon that can only be described as furriness. And so the idea that this was in any way a right-wing shooter was debunked extraordinarily early on, and yet that line continued to be retailed. Now we see a sort of backup line, which is, well, actually, it was just a personal psychological issue. It had to do with his relationship. We've seen the line that actually was apolitical, that had nothing to do with politics at all. All of that is absolute sheer nonsense. He says in those text messages with his gay lover that Charlie Kirk was hateful. And the reason he thought Charlie Kirk was hateful is because of Charlie's views specifically on the gay and trans issues.
And, you know, I'm thinking about some of the comments from Montel Williams and others who have, you know, talked about the fact that it was just his broken heart, basically. It was some sort of a love situation, and he was brokenhearted. Look, I do want to talk about this just big picture for a second, because I have said this before. I think more speech is always better, not into killing speech. But we're in a moment right now, you know, you want to talk about the FCC. We're not handled by them. We don't have a license from them. Broadcast stations do. And what's appropriate, what isn't. I'm all for more free speech.
See, those are market consequences, social consequences. Now, the question of government involvement, again, raises some other issues, I think, and muddies the waters.
Ben Shapiro, always great to have you in focus. Thank you very much.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilney.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to
And get the probiotics. I have two different types. You can get it in the powdered version or the VeggieCap version. Powdered version is this one. The VeggieCap version is this one. Very high quality probiotics. And by taking them every day, you're going to improve your digestion, your ability to absorb your foods, your energy levels will improve, your metabolism will improve, your gut health will improve, your immune system in your gut will improve. The communication between your gut and your liver will improve, and your gut and your brain. You'll be able to sleep better. You're going to be able to detoxify your central nervous system. You're going to be able to consolidate your memory better. So these are really important to do every day. And health starts at the gut. So go to my store and get the high quality probiotics. It'll also help with your skin. You'll notice that better gut biome will improve skin. Now, Complete Multivitamin has the multivitamins that you need as cofactors for enzymatic activity, so your cells perform the way they're supposed to. All right? Multivitamins as cofactors will attach to certain areas of an enzyme, change the conformation, and allow them to perform better. So your cells have better metabolism and are performing their function. So this is the foundation for the anti-aging protocol. Taking a high-quality multivitamin, this is easy to digest, and taking a probiotic. By taking a probiotic and the multivitamin, you have that foundation and you build off of it. And so that first pillar, I was talking about the Max 35 and cleanse. That will boost up that immune system. The second pillar is C60. C60 is an antioxidant. It's going to soak up free radicals, help with the health of the mitochondria. You're going to have more ATP, you'll have more energy, your cells will perform better, your tissues will perform better, even your organ systems. Your immune system will perform better, your endocrine system will perform better, even your brain function. And bringing and soaking up free radicals at the vascular level, you're reducing plaque formation. Super important. Take a teaspoon a day, every day, to soak up those free radicals. This is 1,000 times more potent than vitamin C, 1,000 times. All right, you can get it in MCT coconut oil, avocado oil, or extra virgin olive oil. You take a teaspoon a day, preferably on an empty stomach in the morning. If you take it before a workout, you will notice that you are soaking up those free radicals that are generated by the workout, and you're recovering quicker. You'll notice your recovery time is better. Take a teaspoon a day every day. And you'll also notice that within about 2 months, you start to feel these positive changes to your body. Some people also see improvement, literally, of their eyesight. That's what happened to me. All right. I used to wear glasses every day. And once I started taking C60, within about 2 months or so, I didn't need to do that. I've been taking C60 since 2016, every day. And what you'll notice also, within a year of taking it every day, that before and after comparison, you look younger. You physically look younger. Now, C60 also helps the basal layer of your skin. Your basal layer produces new skin cells. If you improve that basal layer by soaking up free radicals and providing antioxidants and supplements that help with youthful gene expression, like resveratrol. So taking resveratrol and C60 is a great stack for your basal layer for your skin. So this is part of the reason why when people take C60 and resveratrol, that over about a year period, they actually look younger. So follow this anti-aging protocol. The third pillar, this is the second pillar. The third pillar is the turmeric, ashwagandha, and lignans to boost up the immune system and help with the cardiovascular system. And then the fourth pillar, the last pillar, is boomer boost. Revs up the metabolism and increases your energy levels. And you look at the foundation and the four pillars, that's targeting all the major systems that actually cause aging. So go to my store, get the C60. You can get it in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration. It is cheaper at a higher ounce configuration. And take it every day, teaspoon a day. Soak up those free radicals, super important. Helps with neural health and lots of other systems, like I mentioned. So please go to my store, use discount 5, you get $5 off any order. You spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. But take C60 every day, and it's going to do wonders for your body. But you stack it with that anti-aging protocol, and you are boosting up your immune system and your energy levels and metabolism, and you're slowing down the aging process. So it's about stacking. If you stack these the way I've been telling you to, you are going to see major gains in your health. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Let's see here, what's next? Let's see. The New Statesman. Let's see if it's audio or if it's just.
Download the app and get 50% off your first Wonder order with code 50Google.
Gusto is the best choice for small business payroll. It's fast. It's trusted. It's a great value.
Trump's second state visit, an unprecedented second state visit.
It's historic.
It's historic. He's going to stay in Windsor Castle.
He loves Castle.
Which is better than Buckingham Palace.
To make both of them into casinos. Let's just do it. Let's just sell it to him. We're selling everything else.
The Green Park Riviera.
The Green Park Riviera. Just put some pink marble on it. And then the slot machine. Yeah.
So in terms of the itinerary, no time really in London, not going to address Parliament. Wednesday, there is lunch in the State Dining Room, and then we're going to have the big Wednesday evening white tie state banquet. So watch out for the outfits there.
It's been bad in the past. It could be about to get worse, actually. Although Trump has had so much Ozempic since that last one, that maybe he will look like the dashing man that lives inside his imagination.
Last time I was looking at photos, and Melania Trump had this amazing yellow chiffon dress with a cape. She looked absolutely incredible.
She's stunning. Sorry, I'm not allowed to say that, but she is absolutely stunning.
So look out for the outfits. And then Thursday, they're spending the day at Checkers, and we're going to get that big press conference where, as you say, it is highly likely that there will be questions about Jeffrey Epstein, but also where the Prime Minister is going to hope to unveil a new trade deal on tech, some update as to when we're going to get the steel tariffs removed, that apparently we're going to get because of our special relationship.
We're entering Trump's Stargate, his AI Stargate, in exchange for, I think we're going to be giving away something to do with drugs and medicine. But there's going to be some Sam Altman NVIDIA ChatGPT action
Well,
on Thursday.
Trump thinks that we get NHS drugs too cheaply, and that the US pharmaceutical companies should be able to charge us more, which is probably not what you want to hear if you're West Streeting.
No, he probably isn't too happy. Maybe he won't be in the room. And we have to believe that at this late stage, the British press can rouse itself to cause some kind of diplomatic incident with, Epstein, Mandelson, Trump, and Starmer on stage. So we've got to believe that an awkward moment will ensue. I believe in the lobby at this moment.
An awkward moment for President Trump, an awkward moment for Starmer, an awkward moment for Britain.
Does Trump
all of the above?
Does Trump feel awkwardness? I mean, I'm trying to think of an awkward moment.
Well, you were saying that he feels scared, right?
That is something that I had a sort of dinner on Sunday with somebody who spent a lot of time covering the Trump White House since Trump came back. And it was very interesting speaking to them. They said, 15 people run that White House. They're the same team as the Trump campaign team. And even before the killing of Charlie Kirk last week, they were very, very scared about their physical safety. I mean, following the assassination attempt on Trump last year, I think there's definitely a sense, as far as I was told, of real worries that they're going to be killed. Apparently, Trump goes around saying, there's a 10% chance I'm not going to be here tomorrow. He thinks he's going to get shot.
He started talking about getting people to pray for him or send in donations to pray for him to make sure he got into heaven.
Yeah,
that was a few weeks ago.
There's a sort of streak of fatalism running through this Trump White House. Trump hadn't actually been out in Washington to a restaurant, apparently, for sort of 5-6 months of this.
The guy had 2 assassination attempts. His head almost exploded on live TV. Of course, he's a little bit of a fatalist. I mean, these intellectuals from Britain.
His second term. And then when he did go out, he was accosted by a diner who came up to him and started shouting about, whatever mad thing he'd done that day. And apparently Trump was frightened by this. He thought he was going to die again. And yeah, it's notable that they're not in London. They're staying in Windsor. They're staying probably in places that are easier to protect. Melania is actually on this trip. She often doesn't go on the foreign trips. Maybe she likes the rural aspects of it. Maybe she thinks it's safer than some other trips that it might have taken. But definitely paranoid. I mean, we saw in J.D. Vance's remarks yesterday about, he hosted the Charlie Kirk show yesterday and was talking about, this isn't the time for unity. This is really talking about getting revenge on the people they have decided to blame the killing of Charlie Kirk on. And so Trump rolls into Britain with a cloud of paranoia, I think, hanging over him.
Well, you mentioned the royals, and they're key to this, basically. Like,
if your pet goes from weird to weirder, drooly to droolier, slow to slower, loud to louder, day or night, if you don't know what's wrong, know where to go.
Key to this, basically. Like the royal family seem to be the trump card, and then that sounds like a line, the ace up the sleeve, I don't know, that British governments can play when tackling slightly tricky, difficult diplomatic situations. If we cast our mind back to the first historic Trump state visit in 2019, when Theresa May was Prime Minister, the use of the royal family there, or Trump's maybe obsession is the wrong word. Trump being a real fan of the British royal family.
He loves it.
That had an impact.
Yeah, I think he said that the one thing his mother would have been proud of his first time of the presidency would have been
meeting the Queen.
His mother was born on a small island around Scotland somewhere, it was called Crofting Island, and was also believed in monarchy, believed in the royal family. There's quite oddly moving footage in a way of Trump with this very, very tacky book of photos from his first term, sort of points. And there's me with Prince Charles, sort of pointing.
It's like he's in the room with us.
I know, and it's just he clearly gets something out of it.
He walked in front of her.
He did walk in front of her.
You're not meant to do that.
He's a clumsy oaf, but there is it must be very strange. I mean, if I think about, now King Charles, one of the first US president he met was, I mean, it's either Lyndon Johnson or Richard Nixon. I mean, whatever you think of Richard Nixon, Lyndon B. Johnson, I mean, maybe if you're Vietnamese, you have complicated feelings about them. Maybe you don't like Watergate or whatever. But, these are quite serious people. I mean, Lyndon B. Johnson is quite sort of serious, brusque Texan. It's quite colourful, but like a serious political operator who mastered the US Senate. Richard Nixon is somebody who, I suppose, is quite Trumpian in their ability to be knocked down and come back again. And I suppose Trump's status is less comic than it was in his first term, is now more serious and even more sort of scary than he was before. But still, if you're the king and you've met Richard Nixon, you must look at this man and think, what on earth has happened to America? If your only experience of America is just meeting successive US presidents, which is probably quite close to the king's experience of America, he's probably better placed than anybody to comment on the decline of America's republic and its descent into kind of authoritarian, toxic madness.
He's unlikely to be doing so, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he probably won't be. He won't be saying that at the banquet.
This is the really interesting thing about the evolution of Charles from Prince Charles to King Charles, is that we know that he had quite a lot of really quite strong political beliefs, positions before he was monarch, and now he is fulfilling a very similar role to that Queen Elizabeth did for many, many decades of neutrality and of being another a sort of back way into a diplomatic relationship.
Assets, really. They're fantastic assets for this country in these particular peculiar moments.
So you don't think that Charles is going to raise drill baby drill with the US president, given that he's got a long history of being a quite fervent environmentalist since before it was even a thing that people talked about?
I mean,
Charles, that is.
I think Trump has praised Charles for his environmentalism and for his beliefs and views. I think if you dig around, you may find Trump saying, I don't think that's really good. But yeah, I don't expect that Charles believes he has the.
Why don't they say that Trump is all about the cleanest air and the cleanest water? He said that during the campaign. No, it's all about drill baby drill, and it's automatically assumed that drill baby drill must be bad for the planet, must be bad for the environment. What about digging up all that lithium for EV vehicles? I guarantee you that digging up lithium, the use of the water, and the runoff of the mine is far more damaging to the environment than fossil fuel extraction. Oh, I'm just saying. But the fucking crazy liberals think it otherwise, because the crazy liberals are stupid. Please go to my store and get Clarity Factor so you're not a crazy liberal.
On drill baby.
Come on.
You wonder quite
get it out
of the Trump, the 3-month Trump fleeting obsession with turning Canada into the 51st state in the Union. I mean, there are quite a lot of insults have been handed out by Trump to Britain over the years, and you do wonder whether Charles sort of takes them personally, or is of the understanding, in the same way that Starmer is, that this relationship absolutely has to work. It's so vital for our economy. It's so vital for our national security. It's so vital for European security, where so much of our diplomatic effort is effectively trying to get the United States to continue arming Ukraine, or perhaps in the future offering a solid security guarantee to Ukraine. That the king is an asset in this diplomatic struggle that we're having with the Americans.
But do you believe in a special relationship? Because if the beginnings of the second Trump term have taught us anything, surely it's that the special relationship exists mostly in the heads of the British, right? The Americans don't believe in the special relationship.
If you really want to get into this, the great mistake of 20th century Britain is to not maintain its alliance with Japan after World War I and use Japan to sort of surround the Americans. And instead, at the Washington Naval Conference in 1921, we decided to actually bin off our alliance with Japan for no good reason. And the Americans are always very rude to the British in this period. We just decided, okay, we're going to be really nice to you, because I've never quite understood it. If listeners want more than my ramblings, I recommend Corelli Barnett's book, The Collapse of British Power, which is very, very interesting on the so-called special relationship. But of course, being against the special relationship is pretty fringe, right, in British politics. So how many people in the Conservative Party now would ever criticise the special relationship?
Well, Ed Davy's been doing it.
Yeah.
No, I think that's interesting. Sorry, you asked anyone in the Conservative Party. I am not suggesting for a moment that Ed Davey is in the Conservative Party, but Ed Davey is occupying a piece of political territory that has been vacated. That is the kind of, we need to accept that America is our ally, but we can still stand up to them and we can still challenge them. And if America is behaving in ways that are contrary to British interests, we need to be honest about that, which is something the Labour government can't do because they have to work with Trump. It's something that the Conservatives kind of could do. They could take a sort of
stress keeping you up. Introducing Lemon Balm by Vinergy. This fast-absorbing concentrate works at the cellular level, so you stay calm. Vinergy, we can save ourselves.
Could do. They could take a sort of patriotic Britain needs to stand up for itself line, but Tony Badenoch has a weird thing with Jodie Vance and isn't going down that route.
She's decided that he's her friend.
He's not her friend.
I'm not sure he is. I think the only country in this sort of the panoply of American alliances that really stands up to them in that way is probably Israel. I mean, that's probably the only one that like often directly goes against what the Americans want. But given the strength of the relationship, there's a kind of way that they can work through this stuff. But, you know, anti-Americanism in British politics is, and I agree with what you say, Ed Davy's doing his Hugh Grant Love Actually stuff every week, but really it's confined to the fringes. I struggle to think of many British politicians, mainstream ones, other than Jeremy Corbyn, Enoch Powell, who have been against NATO in the last 50 years.
Whoa. I don't think you can associate standing up to America for British interests with being against NATO, not least when America is not the most sort of diehard defender of NATO at the moment.
Anymore, no. But it's an interesting question, and I think that these are the moments, like this state visit, all the scheming, the hard work, and I think arguably, you know, the good work that Number 10 has done to try and make this happen. You know, on their terms, this will probably, as long as the Mandelson stuff doesn't completely blow up in their faces, this will probably be quite a good week, maybe.
Do you think even with the questions over Mandelson and the fact that we know that Donald Trump likes Keir Starmer in part because Starmer won a huge majority and is a winner, and Trump likes winners, and with Starmer facing all of this pressure, all of the criticism from his own side, he's looking less like a winner, you think with all of that, by the end of the week, Downing Street will be able to kind of breathe a sigh of relief and go, okay, we got through that. We got some wins on a tech deal.
And maybe, you know, in 6 months' time, when, say, America says, you know, this is a concrete security guarantee to Ukraine, which will probably involve, you know, jets flying around in some demilitarized zone in 3 years' time. But maybe they'll look back to this as the moment where, you know, in the back rooms and the back channels, this was actually sorted out. And that would be a major success for a lot of people in the British establishment. They'd be very happy with that. But, you know, ultimately, just looking at opposition.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the deodorant bars. The deodorant bars are dual purpose. Use it as a daily deodorant. It's for males and females, but it also will help to detoxify your body. You can get it in citrus, and you can also get it in peppermint, lavender, and tea tree. It's made from essential oils from the Himalayas. All natural, no aluminum, no baking soda, all natural ingredients. Made from essential oils from the Himalayas. Dual purpose for males and females. Detoxify your body every day and smell good, so you don't smell like a stinky liberal. And also, since we're going to have a revolution, you need to gain some bone density. How do you do that? Take vitamin D3 with vitamin K2 and K7. Take them together, do resistance training, taking calcium, and you're going to build denser bone over time. But taking vitamin D3 and K2 will also help to pull out some of that calcium depositing and reduce calcium depositing in your vascular system. So this will help with your cardiovascular health too. Voila, amazing. And vitamin D3, super important to get cells to go into apoptosis if they're infected. You need a lot of this be prepared. Fall and winter, be prepared. Boomer Boost has 68 nutrients, a very comprehensive compound profile shown on the screen. All right, look at that. Look at that, how comprehensive that is. But you can also read the label on my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. This will target your heart, your vascular system, your brain function, your musculature, your energy levels, rev up your metabolism, help with controlling A1C levels. You get many benefits from taking this. You'll notice the effects of this within 72 hours. And by taking this long term, you're going to actually slow down the aging process. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Boomer Boost. Mix it with soft foods or filtered water, milk, or even a smoothie, but take it every day. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and it works really well if you're an athlete to take it as your pre or post-workout fuel source. And heirloom barley. Heirloom barley you can take separately, or you can stack it with the Boomer Boost. I stack the barley with the Boomer Boost. Heirloom barley will detoxify your body, bring down inflammation, and soak up free radicals through superoxide dismutase. Take this every day. It's a powder. It's a month supply. And again, you take it the same way that you take the Boomer Boost. And if you take them together, you get added. There's a synergistic effect, especially controlling the A1C levels and bringing down inflammation. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and detoxify that body. And when you're detoxifying your body regularly, you're going to notice that your endocrine system, your immune system, and your other organ systems are performing better. Your body is going into homeostasis, and if it is working properly, you slow down the aging process. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Use discount 5, you get $5 off any order. If you spend $100 or more, you get a free gift until supplies last. And follow my protocol. And better yet, also prepare for the fall and the winter. You know what's coming. I don't have to say it. And I told you what you need to do. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.